Yes, sir. And you'll have to open a browser and agree to the egregious terms and conditions. Have 6. We rolling? It is 6 o'clock. I will call to order the meeting of the Charter Review Commission. I count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. We have quorum. I believe we need 9 for quorum, so we have quorum. So we can proceed. Moving on to item 2, public comment. Don't know if I need to read that. Krista, do you have any public comment? No public comment. I can't believe that. Moving on to item 3A. Discuss and consider action to approve the minutes of the January 8th, 2026 Charter Review Commission meeting. Those were included in the packet that Trista sent out. Did anybody see any typos or any issues with motions or anything? May I have a motion then?
I move to approve the meeting minutes from the last meeting.
Second.
Motion to approve and seconded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Outstanding. I hope all of our items moved that efficiently. Before I open 3B, I will make a note here for everyone, just so you know, we will be ending at 10 o'clock sharp. We may or may not, you see that we have a busy agenda. We tried to add a couple of extra items on, just to impress upon the group that there is a lot of other sections that we need to get to. If we do not finish section 3 today, which I don't know that we will, Mr. Roth is missing and Ms. Nahara is missing, and they were supposed to bring us some notes for 305. And so we will push that off until the next meeting. But if we don't finish section 3, next meeting we will commence with Article 4. And any remaining items for Article 3 we will tackle in the last meeting, so that we can try to get through the other sections without ignoring our responsibility to review the entire charter. Does that make sense, everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Sir. All right. 3B, discuss and consider action regarding recommendations for possible amendment to the city charter, Article 3, the City Council. As previously stated, 305, we don't have our notes on, and so I will move over to well, I got all these scattered around because we had a bunch of proposals. I'm looking at notes from Mayor Weiss on 309, clarifying inquiries. We had a discussion on that, and I think that's kind of where we ended the meeting last time. Is that what everyone else recalls?
Isn't that the one they're working on?
Yeah.
No, they're working on 305, which was getting an item on the agenda.
Yeah.
This is, and maybe they were wrapped together.
Seemed like they were.
I think they were.
intertwined.
I think they were kind. You're right. They were intertwined. Okay, so we'll pass through that. I've got another note from the mayor updating the requirement for an immediate effective ordinance. This is under Article 3, Section 15B as in boy. He states that this section currently states that 3 affirmative votes are required. I believe this was missed when we added the 6th council member and gave the mayor the vote. I believe the intention is to ensure that a majority of the entire council votes in the affirmative in order for an ordinance to be effective immediately, i.e. if only 4 council members show up at a meeting and 3 yes votes approve the item, that would be good enough for immediate effectiveness. This should either be updated to 4 or a majority of the entire council, including those absent or vacant. Any questions or thoughts around that?
Does he want majority of the entire council, meaning 4 votes, or does he want majority of attending the council?
I think the way it's written, and I need to go back and look, it says, I think
Because it's not majority.
it says 3.
It says 3, but does he want it to be 4,
we need a-
or does he want it to be majority of 4?
It needs to be a majority, right?
Yeah.
I think it's something that we missed last time, in case any of you were wondering if I'm imperfect. see, where is my, should have had this open already. Any thoughts or concerns about amending that?
Makes logical sense to me to have a majority.
Yeah, agreed. Are we gonna clarify that it's majority of all,
Let you-
like the full council and mayor versus not majority of those attending?
Yeah, to see, that's what I was asking to see.
Well, and that was the thing, either, so like, let's say, one member, if one member doesn't show up, 6, you still need a vote of 4, but if 2 members don't show up, theoretically, you could pass something with a vote of 3.
Right.
And so the thought is that we could codify that to be 4 affirmative votes, and regardless of the attendance, so that if 2 people don't show up and 4 still vote, that's enough. But it pushes it above that level of being a majority vote, like in a 3-2 split.
Well, majority covers, if it's a 3-3, that's not a majority, so it fails.
Right.
So a majority covers both circumstances, whether
If you have 2 absent.
2 absent or 1 absent, it still covers it.
If you have 2 absent, then you could have a 3-2 vote, and the majority would,
Yes.
right? And so by saying 4, by removing
It
the.
makes it a super majority if there's 2 missing, basically.
Right, it makes sure that there's always 4 approving, minimally,
Yeah.
right?
Why, sorry,
Go ahead.
why wouldn't we just say it has to be a majority of the entire council?
That was the other suggestion.
Yeah.
And then with a comma after it saying whether present or absent. And that's another way of saying the same thing. I think by using that language, we future-proof it a little bit in case the makeup of council has changed for whatever reason. That article doesn't have to be revisited as well.
Right.
So I agree, I like that idea. Why can't I, sorry, I'm trying to do 2 things at once and failing. Here it is, right there in front of me.
I guess the question is, do we want it to be easier or harder for the ordinance to pass on first readings? Like, do we want to make sure that enough people vote in order for it to go through, or do we want it just to be convenient to get it through?
I think by having, sorry, does it say specifically that there's 3 readings in this one? I mean, I don't know that
Two.
we've ever needed
2
3
readings.
readings on something. The problem with 3 readings is that if there's contention at a 3rd reading, then it kicks it into a 4th reading.
Well, this is just first reading, right? An
Right.
ordinance passed on
So
first reading.
by the first reading, then it can
Yeah.
be pushed through.
So, I mean, you've been on council, does it matter if, do we need to know that a majority of the city council is in favor of it, or it's just whoever's there? Is there any situation where we want to make sure that everybody has eyes on it? Or?
That's the question before this body, is do we think that is relevant, that it could be a majority of 3-2? Or do we want to make sure that we always have a majority of the entire council approving an ordinance? That's the question before us. If we don't care, we leave it as is and it stays 3. If we do care, then we can go in and change the verbiage.
They can't move forward.
Do you have
I think it just doesn't go
examples of
effect
how this
immediately.
has happened in the past, or like what kinds of things have passed or not passed? I mean,
I couldn't pull any out from my personal experience. I don't know if staff has any that, she's shaking her head.
So in this case, it would be, the ordinance would still come back for a second reading, but it is essentially effective on first reading. In this scenario, they specifically state that, and so this has been used in relation to like timing of specific city leases that have to be by ordinance, where it's effective on that first reading, which can allow that date to be more than, 2 weeks earlier.
okay.
Also, it's happened recently with an ordinance related to work with Encore, where we needed to make sure that things kept moving. Those are the only 2 that I'm immediately aware of.
So we need to make it more convenient for that to be able to backdate it.
So the intent of this statement is that if it needs to move a little bit faster than 4 weeks, this is how they can do it.
So it can go into effect, but it still requires a second reading and a second vote. But it's like, if the first vote is affirmative, then it's good enough to move forward with. And I don't see language here to that. Updated for. Do you have recommended language on that or no? For the, okay.
I mean, we could just change it to majority and then change, may become effective after first reading unless otherwise specified. And that would, I think, alleviate both of his notes, right?
Well, and I didn't bookmark specifically in B, 15B, where it says 4. Anyway,
So the sentence of travel right now is the very end of.
You right? Okay.
oh, D, that's why I'm not finding it in B. Thank you. So at the end of D, the last sentence says, an ordinance passed on first reading by at least 3 affirmative votes may become effective after first reading, provided the motion so specifies, but the ordinance shall be posted and adopted at a subsequent meeting. So the question is, do we change out the at least 3 to say at least 4? Or do we say at least a majority of council either present or absent?
Well, going off of what Trista said, it sounds like there are situations where we need, for convenience sake, to be able to backdate ordinances. So that would make sense to do it whoever's present rather than 4, majority of those present.
Well, I mean, if there has to be at least 4 present, otherwise they
Right,
don't
but
have
a majority,
quorum.
not 4 total, but like, not 4 votes, but for a majority of quorum of city council rather than,
So you're suggesting we leave it alone?
no, I'm saying we change it not to 3 affirmative votes, but to, you're saying it has to be at least minimum 3?
Right, because if you don't have,
You don't have quorum?
if you don't have 4, you don't have quorum, and you need 3 to pass anything with a 3-1, 2-2. As Terry pointed out, a tie doesn't pass.
We could change it to majority of those present just to future-proof it, but leave it at effective 3.
So does everyone think 3 should allow something to go forward, or do we think it should be a majority of 4 or more?
I feel more comfortable with a majority.
I see heads nodding yes. So we should probably move it to 4 or either a majority of council either present or absent. I don't know if the attorney has an opinion on that, but we can present it to him if we decide on it and let them come back with us, answer for us.
To clarify, like in the situations that she mentioned, if we need to backdate it for a lease or something, we wouldn't be able to do that unless there was a full city council here for that first vote, right?
So it's already written to allow an ordinance become effective with a majority, with a vote of 3. It's already written that way.
Okay. but
And
I'm
it's,
saying
and it's already written that it will not be adopted until a second reading.
Right.
So you can still move forward with it. The question, I believe, is whether or not we want to harden that a little bit so it has to be a vote of 4, which would be a majority, or leave it at 3.
I think I'm getting confused with majority of 7 people or majority of those present. So
Yes.
I would propose we move it to majority of those present, which is effectively 3, but that future-proofs it in case we increase the
Well,
numbers at some
it
point.
would be 3 if you had people missing.
It would be
if you
3,
had the
but
full council,
by
it would be
saying
4.
majority, if the number ever changes, we
Right, you'll have at least 3. And
Yeah.
so the language is at least 3 affirmative votes. But I saw.
The way it's written, it says ordinance passed on the first reading by at least 3 affirmative votes.
Right.
That's not an affirmative of a majority. if you said an ordinance passed on a majority of the council present, then that, if there were 7 present, that would be 4.
Right.
And if there was 6 present, that would be 3 when it passed. If there was 5 present, it would be 3, and it would pass. And so therefore, the way it's written right now, it's simply 3.
Right, which
Say it up.
could allow for a 3-4 vote being passed,
Yeah.
right? Because if there's
Right. So
a
if you
full
change it-
council there and you get 3
Right, right, so you
votes,
don't want it the way it is.
we do not.
So,
Want
so if you do,
majority.
so the question is, do you want it to be a majority of the people present or a majority of the council as a whole?
That's the question.
And one would say, would allow for 4 in the circumstance that there's 7 people there, and in the circumstances that there's people missing, it would go to 3.
If I can clarify this statement, just for clarity's sake, so that an ordinance passed requires a majority, and so the second part of that statement of by at least 3 affirmative votes is accounting for if people are missing. But an ordinance, if there are 7 council members present, an ordinance can't pass if only 3 people vote yes. So that first, an ordinance passed has to happen first. So if it's a 3 yes, 4 no, then that first statement isn't true. The ordinance has not been passed.
Say that again.
So the
Please.
first statement, an ordinance passed on first reading by at least 3 affirmative votes. So that an ordinance passed would require, if there are
A majority
7
vote.
council members, it requires 4 yeses.
Right.
If it becomes where there's only 3 yeses, then that statement, an ordinance passed on first reading, that ordinance hasn't been passed.
Right.
Therefore, it cannot be effective on first reading. So that second part where it says at least 3 affirmative votes is accounting for if there are people missing.
So let's just strike that. Here's an idea. So where it says, and I don't know if y'all have it opened up and looking at it, but it says an ordinance passed on first reading, and then we strike by at least 3 affirmative votes. So it just says an ordinance passed on first reading may become effective after first reading, provided the motion so specifies.
Yeah, that's what I'm basically saying.
Right?
Yeah.
Now that goes back to a majority present, but it just strikes that section because it's redundant.
Which future-proofs it in case we ever get 8 city council members.
Do I have a motion?
Before we do that, do we want to change, because the mayor also had a note about making it mandatory to specify that it becomes effective? Do we want to change it to just say it can become effective after first reading unless otherwise specified?
How would you read that? How would it read?
I don't know how, he didn't really
So it
propose
I
something
think,
specific, but.
and I think it's already in there, right? It says an ordinance passed may become effective after first reading, provided the motion so specifies. So if I motion to approve and make this effective immediately, that's the vote.
I think the mayor was saying that he doesn't want it to be, he doesn't want to have to say this is effective immediately. It should just apply. That's what I was reading his note, but.
I think there's some, maybe I'm confused then, where it was talking about it has to be done on 2 readings, and the exception would be when it passes on the first reading. And so then it's saying, if the regular way of doing it is that it's gonna be effective upon adoption unless later specified, then that's been after 2 readings. And what we were just talking about was only after the exception process for 1 reading. So are we considering even then just saying, why do we even have 2 readings to then get it passed and just go to 1 reading?
That's in B then, we would have to look at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'd have to rewrite that section.
Do we know what the original reasoning was for the 2 readings?
The reasoning is to allow for the public to have an opportunity to come and talk about it. I wouldn't want to change that. But I do understand under special circumstances, you do want something to take effect immediately and still have the second reading.
And that only happens on a majority of 4 votes, is that what they're trying to get at?
No, we'd get rid of that, so just.
Yeah, they're just trying to remove the conflict here.
So
It
what
was open.
happens,
This is one of those things that was
Well, I was
overlooked when
wondering
we
if the
added.
number threshold would mean that you don't have to do a second reading, like it would surpass it.
This does not eliminate the second reading.
Okay.
So what happens at that second reading if it's already approved and basically enacted?
No. The first reading, if it's so moved, the ordinance becomes effective, right? But it's not adopted
Gotcha.
until the
The
second
second
reading.
reading, got it, okay.
We
So-
have our city attorney here. He can go in at length about the difference between those two if we need to.
Well, then does something get adopted and then because it was effective like 2 weeks prior, you can retroactively go and penalize somebody for it?
No,
If
it's,
it's
if it's voted for and effective, then it's in effect, okay? And so typically, this is for granting a easement right of way or something for, emergency power lines that need to come in. I remember, now that Trista brought it up, I remember Encore coming, all panicked, after the ice storm, that they had to get right of way and permission to put up power lines, down Pflugerville Parkway. And there was some concern about getting that immediately there, because they had crews mobilized already. And so it's effective, and so, yes, council approved it, it's now in effect, whatever that ordinance is. And then on the second reading, 4 weeks later, or 2 weeks later, whatever the gap is, then it would be adopted.
Okay,
And then it becomes part of the code of ordinances.
okay. What about an ordinance that directly affects residents? I mean, I get easements can directly affect residents, but what if it's like an ordinance around where you can, park your RV?
A stop sign might be a great example as well, too. Stop signs have to be adopted by ordinance. And so if there's a stop sign that needs to be put in an intersection and council approves it, then that's effective immediately. And if you run that stop sign, you would get a ticket. You don't have to go back. It's effective, you're getting a ticket. If in your case with the RV, if they say you can't park an RV out front, which is already an ordinance,
Yeah.
then it would become effective immediately. And if there's a fine associated with that, that fine would be levied then. It wouldn't have to go back.
Okay.
So I'm thinking we're good here if we remove,
Stipulations of votes.
the words from 315D by at least 3 affirmative votes. I think if we remove that, then everything's fine.
Yep.
May I have a motion?
Make a motion to remove by at least 3 affirmative votes from that, 315D.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I think that solves what Mayor Weiss was looking for. Does that sound right to you? Okay. All right, I'm going to move this document over because we'll come back to that next week. The next document I have open is the one that says, leads with proposal, council agenda placement authority. This sounds like this is part of the 305, 309 question that we're deferring until next meeting, so let's slide that across unless anyone objects.
If that was mine, you could probably pull that one, because I think that was solved by what they're working on.
Right, which is good. Would you carry it forward? Maybe. We can get through all this. Otherwise, I'm pushing them back till we get to the end. All right, I'm looking at some more notes. These are staff notes, which are, first one is consider removal of second readings on all ordinances, including franchise. Goes back to what you're saying. Franchise readings apparently require 3 readings now. Trista, as a representative staff, do you know what the intent of this is? Efficiency? And so, from our attorney there, is there any state requirements that requires 2 readings for an ordinance? So that's just something that we do as a courtesy to,
Some cities have 1, some cities have 2, some cities 3.
okay? Thoughts?
I think it's important to have an extra reading to give the public a chance to speak on stuff. It's their money that they have a right to voice on it. And if you pass it on first reading and people don't know about it to begin with, they don't have a chance to come and talk and speak at this next meeting, then you're basically silencing them.
Don't freak out, but I agree with you. I do think 3 readings is too much.
Yes.
Does anyone else have any comments about that? Either streamlining it to 1 reading or continuing to maintain 2?
Is a budget reading is 2 readings or 3?
Budget's like 50 readings, because you have each
I mean,
department.
what's required?
I don't know the exact question to that, the answer to that.
Yeah, I don't remember offhand, because there's some variety of public hearings required, and then the ordinance itself, I believe, is 1 reading, but there's a public hearing prior to that. I will say that is, I believe, in a different article.
Yeah, probably 10. So is our franchise, is that in Article 3?
But that is not.
Okay,
That is in Article 10.
10. Well, we tripped on it, so maybe we should take a look at it.
We cannot.
We cannot, it's not on the agenda, never mind. Okay, so we'll push the whole thought about franchises to when we get to Article 10, as that's not on the agenda. 315, ordinance effective date references 3, we fixed that. 310, what to do if the mayor does not approve the agenda. So the wording here is city manager residency requirements updated to, oh, that's a separate item. Sorry, these all run together. My formatting, when I pasted it, went away. So 310. Scrolling. 310 reads, the city council shall meet at least once each month and may hold as many additional meetings as it deems necessary. Days and times of regular meetings be set by resolution. All meetings shall be posted and conducted. The city council shall meet with each board or commission. The mayor shall, with the assistance, and it's the last sentence, of course. The mayor shall, with the assistance and input of the city manager, set and approve the agendas for city council. So the concern here is that if 2 members of council request an agenda item, that when it gets to the mayor theoretically can nix that because he sets the agenda or she sets the agenda. Does everyone understand what we're?
Doesn't the part where it says 2 city councilmen can do that require that it gets added on? I thought that was on there. I don't remember what section that was.
Yeah, I think if that's something that we want to fix, then
Do we have to reference
it's,
it?
even if you put the word shall there, I think it's still ambiguous in terms of the mayor still has to approve it. I see my attorney shaking his head, so I speak the truth. And so to remove any ambiguity in this sentence, we can add a second sentence, right? The mayor shall, with the assistance of the city manager, set and approve the agendas for city council meetings, period. Any agenda item proposed by 2 or more council members must or shall, we'll get an opinion here, appear on the agenda. Sir, should that be shall or must?
I would go with shall.
Shall, yeah, I think that's pretty strong term. Does that make sense to everybody?
Yes.
So
Yeah.
you're actually putting it in to say, as long as 2 are there, they can get it on. Two agree,
Correct.
they can get something on the agenda, right? That's
Right.
And it can't be
It's-
like
right,
three
because right
members.
now, the way it's written is even if 2 or 3 or 4
All of them,
agree,
yeah.
right, unless they take a vote. But if, typically, these are items that are sent to the city secretary, say, hey, I thought about this, and, other council member agrees with me that we should have this on the agenda for next week or whatever. It's in between, right? Something happened.
Oh, okay.
And the mayor can look at, the way this is written now, the mayor can look at it and say, well, I don't want to put that on the agenda, because the mayor reviews it.
And that would defer it to the next month then? Or is it?
No, then it's not,
Yeah,
then it's not on the agenda.
It kills
he
it.
He can basically keep things off the agenda, okay.
That's how it's written. And so this is adding a safeguard that if two council members, and we can make it three, whatever y'all want, whatever y'all think.
I think 2 is good, and I think what you're saying.
Sir?
I think 2 is good, and what you said about adding the extra sentences.
Yeah, it's always been two, and I think that works just fine. And so the change here would be, I think, adding a sentence that says, any agenda item recommended by 2 or more council members shall appear on the agenda.
I agree.
Yeah.
Do we have the wording of that part early? I think it's in the, I don't
I've
know,
got,
section
I've
3.
got one sentence here that says, what to do if mayor does not approve the agenda, so no.
No, I mean, the charter wording, I don't have the first sections.
What section is
About,
that?
I don't know
I'm
which-
just putting an item on.
I have the ones we're doing today, but not the previous
So,
one.
yeah, it's the end of section 3.05. Any member of city council may place an item on the agenda for a subsequent regular city council meeting with the consent of a second member of the city council.
Okay, so it doesn't say when or how it has to go on.
Okay.
Okay, so, yeah, we do need that then.
Right, and that's, yeah.
Oh, okay.
More discussion?
Before we read this, right, the city manager has to approve of that as well, what's the name?
No,
No,
Oh,
No, they're just helping.
it's the mayor's responsibility. City staff
I'm
is,
just trying to understand that portion that says with the assistance.
right, and input, right, because.
she writes the agenda, sets it up and stuff, and she advises, so.
Right, staff puts the agenda together because they know when things are happening, and we have a part-time mayor, part-time council, and so that they're not going day to day to departments and figuring out what needs to be there. The CMO's office brings that to the mayor and says, these are the things that we're ready to discuss at the next meeting, what do you think? And then the mayor can either add or delete, right? And all we're saying now is putting a safeguard there that the mayor can't delete something that's requested by 2 or more council members.
So
I think that wording is the beginning where it says the mayor shall, and then the rest of it is just supporting.
Yeah. Any other questions or discussion? So the thought is to add verbiage, any agenda item requested by 2 or more council members shall appear on the agenda. And I don't know if we need to
Is it
say
requested or recommended?
shall.
No, but is it requested or recommended?
Requested.
Okay.
I think it's requested. They used what we just read. I like that. And I don't know if we need to put specificity in terms of which agenda, because he can say, well, I'm going to approve that for an agenda next year.
I would simply put on 310 in that sentence, I would just add a reference back to 305.
Okay.
Now, if you want to be more specific to 305, as to the timing, you deal with that in 305.
Got you.
That's how I would do it.
So we could, so the test verbiage would be any agenda item requested by 2 or more council members shall be approved by the mayor, or shall appear on the agenda as described in section 305?
I think you just say subject to 305 and, something along the lines of that reference to 2 council members.
Right.
And, if you want to put me on the spot and try to come up with language, I can probably do it in a few minutes. That's what I would do, and I can bring that, I know conceptually what y'all want to do. But I think it's in some ways fairly simple, other than, so the 2 council members do it, when does the mayor have to put it on the agenda? So you may want to deal with that in 305.
So we just add something in 305 that says within 2 city council meetings or something?
Yeah.
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 So what I'm hearing here is that we would put, at the end of this, instead of a period, we put a comma and say, subject to section 305?
So, yeah, something like that, and the authority of 2 council members to place an item on the agenda.
So
Well,
it's
now you added a bunch
probably a
of words.
stupid question, but when,
The next,
what we recommend here is gonna go to the voters. How would that be
that
Yeah.
language, okay.
worded on
Sometime
a ballot
on
item
the
305?
future.
People don't know what that is.
We don't have to worry about that right now. The summary for what it is will be more descriptive. We just have to worry about what we're putting in here. We don't craft the language that shows
We
on the
only meet
ballot.
once a month.
Okay, I just-
That has to go to the attorney and they, state guidelines and all kinds of fun things.
Enough time or something.
It'll be as clear as we can make it.
Okay, not just, not just 305, okay, you gotta go figure out what 305 is. It's
No,
gonna
my
be,
experience, you do a red line version, and that goes actually on the website, the newspaper, and then the ballot item. I mean, it's kind of like, if you go to the ballot without doing some homework, you're gonna be.
well, that's the majority of people.
Yes,
Yeah, well,
no one reads.
democracy, right, a little bit, but.
I got a proposal on
we
that.
want people to do homework. So the homework will be the website, the newspaper notice, copies of the library, things of that nature. And there'll be a full red line version of what y'all decide to do, the council decides to do.
Right. So to try not to add a bunch of words to the end of 310, does it make sense to put the comma, subject to requirements outlined or articulated in section 305?
Yes.
Does that sound acceptable? Can I get a motion?
I don't know what he said.
I don't,
Repeat.
So-
I motioned that.
So we are,
Motion it.
we are, we are looking to amend Article 3, Section 10, at the end of the paragraph where it says, and approve the agendas for city council meetings. Instead of period, we would strike that and put comma, subject to the requirements outlined in Article 3, Section 5. Do I have a motion?
I motioned that, but I can't repeat what you just said.
You
so-
can just motion that.
Yeah, I motioned that.
And I think Trista was typing vigorously over here. All right, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. I will say, I did get some feedback on our last meeting. If you are speaking, we do have an audience outside this room that's watching and listening in. If you're speaking, please be sure that you have a microphone near you and that you address the microphone as if you would at a podium or something to make sure that those folks out there can hear us.
I don't know.
You got a microphone?
The meetings are being televised, and that's, Greg's watching right now, because he couldn't be here. And anybody in the public can watch the meeting. It's an open meeting.
I hope they can't hear me eating.
That's how I actually.
That's what he was saying.
That's why I don't eat my cookie on the camera.
We
All
really should
right.
have talked about that.
So I think that closes out,
Should we go back to 305
Yeah.
and fix the when it subsequently gets put on?
let's take a brief look at that, but understand that we're looking for verbiage coming back on 305 and 309
Oh, okay, yeah.
as well. But
Yeah.
let's look at that specific piece of it. That's a great idea. So,
We typically do what, two?
so the last sentence of 305 says, any member of city council may place an item on the agenda for a subsequent regular council meeting with the consent of a second member of the city council. I think that's fairly clear.
It's clear, but like, that could also mean 3 years from now, so I'm wondering if
It
that's specifying.
could, but it never works out that way. And the reason why we don't say the next meeting is because sometimes staff needs a little more time to
Right.
prepare for something.
Yeah, which, yeah, makes sense. I was wondering if we could put like, within 60 days or,
Reasonably
2 months.
subsequent
Yeah.
or like something that's like,
Something that kind of specifies it in case you keep
Like
punting.
within 6 meetings.
so we can't
We'll go
have
back
someone
to-
just kicking it down the road.
Is it
Yeah.
Mike?
Yes.
Thank you. I'm sorry, I'm terrible with names unless I say it like 1,000 times. Mike, is there stronger language than subsequent in the legal realms of the,
You know, what I'm hearing is you want something specific, whether it's 30 days or 60 days, and so that's what I would recommend. You do.
60 days would be what, 4 meetings?
yes,
I say 60.
that seems reasonable.
That seems reasonable.
Depending on the scale
Well,
of it, yeah.
well,
it might be
And
needed.
again, one of the things that we're looking at is limiting the amount of work that staff does in preparing for an agenda item at the request of 2 council members, right? And so theoretically, that preparation, we may handicap that a little bit until the full council has a chance to vote on it and say, yes, we need to do a deep dive in this. But that's a later conversation. We're waiting on verbiage. This would just give a more definitive timeline to when that agenda item can place. Now, and I'm hearing 60 days. And I'm going to ask Trista, because she's here as a representative of staff, does that seem reasonable? Or is that a question you're not going to answer?
I cannot believe I'm equipped to answer that question.
I love that.
I have a question.
Yes.
So if if it's put on the agenda, or they request to put it on the agenda,
Right.
we could knock it down 60 days, and that would give the staff 60 days to complete that agenda item.
That's how I'm reading it.
To prepare for
Okay.
it, if there was, so, example.
No, I just wanted to understand the workload, and
Yeah.
that makes like an understanding for it, so I get it.
Okay, yes, ma'am.
So, and to continue on what Jamie's saying, is let's say it's something that is a really big lift. At that 60-day mark, and they're coming into that meeting because it's on the agenda, can they then say, we have prepared XYZ, we need 60 more days?
If it was a really big lift, my thought would be, and of course, I'm not gonna speak for staff either, but my thought would be that they would do what they needed to defend that it's a really big lift and they need direction from the full council to go further. That's what my prediction is. Right,
If we put 60 days in 3.05, can they do that? Like, is it still built into the charter that they're able to come back and say, hey, this is a really big lift,
you can always
Are-
table an item or postpone an item. Yeah, that's already part of,
I would see it going on the agenda, then the city manager say, hey, we had this amount of months, this is what we can present. And it's not full. If you
That's
want
fair.
a more in-depth type deal, well, we need a little more time.
Okay,
what
that's
I
fair.
see.
Yeah, at
But
least
it'd be
they
on the
get-
agenda where they could
Talk
at least
about
have
it,
it.
yeah, okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
I feel like that's fair.
And then also, if the mayor doesn't put it on the schedule, then he has to do it within 60, or she has to do it within 60 days. Would be the requirement too.
yeah,
Okay.
so it would have to be, it would
So
have
it's
to
not
appear
only
within
staff,
the,
but it's also adhering to what the council is putting up on the agenda.
right.
Okay.
I have a quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
How long does it normally take to get an item on the agenda? What's the
Usually
norm?
it's the next meeting,
Oh, that's pretty fast.
at least in my experience. Now, there are,
Barely on the outside.
yeah, there are examples that can be provided where
Okay.
it takes longer than that.
I just think of the city of Boston, it was like,
Yeah,
I will also state council approved a resolution recently, information access policy. And in there is a section about request to perform work where that item will go to council for them to take a vote on the work that staff performs, so make a statement that also currently exists.
can you make a note to include that for the next meeting when we look at 305, 309? Perfect, because maybe we just adopt that into the charter, or a form of that. Seeing council already likes it. All right, so in terms of,
Hey, Jim, just because I was late, 30539, was that me and Barbara's action?
Yeah.
That we're deferred?
yeah, we were waiting on you, and so we I didn't know if you were gonna show up or be late, and so we just kicked that dog down the road, or can. Don't kick the dog, kick the can.
kick the can.
Love dogs.
Don't say that.
That was
No,
recorded.
I do think we should look at what they've decided, which I was just made aware of like
Right.
the last day too. So I think that is spot on.
Perfect, good.
Okay.
Back on track. Changing subsequent to any member of city council may place an item on the agenda within 60 days on the agenda for a regular council meeting with the consent of a second member of the city council to appear within 60 days. So we're
So
pending,
get rid of for a subsequent, and then just add at the end for 60 days?
exactly. That sounded so much like a motion, Jamie.
Motion. Did I do it right?
Second.
Motion to take away for subsequent from Title 3.05 and add 60 days to the end of that sentence.
Second.
Second, there we go. Thank you. I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please respond by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
And to make sure I capture that accurately, can you repeat one more time?
Okay. We are striking for a I can't say the word.
No, I think we still want to say item on the agenda for a regular council meeting. So we're just striking the word subsequent.
Subsequent, okay. And then striking the period at the very end
Yep,
and comma for a period of 60 days.
to appear
To
within 60 days.
Appear within 60 days.
To appear on an agenda within 60 days.
Thank you.
Thank you. Cruising right along. All right, the next thing I have here is a sheet proposal. Wait, let me go back to. So we did. Let's do if doesn't. Sorry, there's two more items on this one. City manager residency requirements updated to school district boundaries, and that's section 4. We're not there yet. We'll come back to that. Article 4. All right. Now, moving over to titled Proposal, Council Access to Information and Oversight Clarification. Is this
That's the one that we pushed.
part of 309?
Yeah.
All right, I'm going to move that over till next meeting. Next one, proposal, severance, approval, and disclosure requirements. This is in Article 3. I'm looking up to see what section that would be.
That's 4, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4.
Yeah, it's in 4.
Okay, that's 4. I don't know why I put Article 3 on the top of this. We'll move that to the end of my list here.
Economic development is the,
City manager performance. So the
I don't know, I'm not even looking.
next one I'm looking at a city manager performance criteria, but I think that's Article 4 as well. I don't know why all these have Article 3. All right. So as someone pointed out, the next one is the economic development incentive transparency and approval standards. It's looking at Article 3, Section 14. Scrolling to Section 14. It currently says, in addition to other acts required by law or by specific provision of this charter to be done by ordinance, the city shall adopt ordinances in order to, 1, authorize the borrowing of money, 2, convey or lease or authorize the conveyance of a lease of any city land. Acts other than those specifically enumerated above may be done either by ordinance or resolution. So, this is saying, this proposal adds procedural and disclosure requirements to how council exercising existing authority. And then there's a bunch of words.
Yeah.
And so the proposal is to add a new section, 3 point blank, on economic development incentives specifically.
You want me to summarize it?
Sure.
So effectively, for any situation where the city council votes on economic incentives for development, this does not include PCDC funds, this is just city council. So for example, when Costco came in, we offered them, I think, guarantees on infrastructure commitments. What it would require is that council will receive a written summary by whoever's proposing the incentive that shows the estimated total public cost of it over the life of the agreement, the duration of the incentive, the expected public benefits and performance measures from doing this incentive, and the assumption used in estimating the cost of benefits. And then city council also should put in an ordinance that effectively says if it's over a certain threshold, there's kind of measures in place to measure how well they met performance and clawback ability to get some of that money back if they don't meet the performance promised. And that bit is up to the council on where they want to put those thresholds and requirements.
So council also approves any PCDC.
Well, then it would apply to that as well. But I think they control the PCDC board from what I understand, but then the PCDC kind of has some authority over where those funds go. But
Right.
if the city council were to vote on it, then this would apply.
Yeah, council has to approve
Then,
anything
then that would be
PCDC
for
does.
any incentives then. In that case, it would likely be PCDC that would be the ones putting in the reports. And
Chair, can I say something?
Please.
Okay, I'm coming to this late, and Trista may forgive me because we hadn't even talked about, but when I read through this charter earlier this week, very quickly, mind you, so I need some grace. One thing I caught was that last sentence, acts other than those specifically enumerated above may be done by either ordinance or resolution. I'm speaking out of turn because I've not been to a council meeting where they really do business other than appointment. They do a lot of acts, and I don't know if they cover it by either ordinance or resolution. I think sometimes they do a motion, right? So to me, you could argue that all acts have to be in the form of an ordinance or resolution. I'm getting at least one nod. That's
I
what it is
just,
to me.
I just found myself in reading this feeling like this was micromanaging. And at the charter level, you don't want super specific items, and that acts other than those specifically enumerated, to me, covers all of that.
this is reporting requirements, and then it also guarantees that the city has got safeguards in place if whoever came in with the performances of the economic incentives didn't meet their performance standards, that we can get some of that money back. There's the plan
Yeah,
in
but
place.
to me, that's
Isn't that contract, though?
micromanaging, and it's
But not if
it's
they
a
don't put it in the
policy
contract.
level to me, not a charter level.
Yeah, having been involved with one or two, I also served on PCDC for a couple of years, and so I know that all of that is part of the standard process. They don't just write a check and hand it to somebody. They would all be fired if they did.
Can we maybe make that a recommendation then, instead of
What do you mean a recommendation?
like a recommendation to city council that they put in some sort of written policy on, we need these things for every proposal?
Yes, we can recommend stuff to council.
No, I mean, like, that's what I'm
But
saying.
not-
Let's switch it to a recommendation.
Right.
A policy recommendation?
Yeah.
Okay. I like that.
Was there a suggestion though that maybe we should require incentives to be approved through ordinance as opposed to just a motion?
That was the,
Yeah,
I wasn't commenting on your.
Yeah.
yeah,
I
you're
was
just making
saying,
an observation.
when I read that, without knowing what you were going to propose, I read it to mean that every action of council has to be by ordinance or resolution. I don't know if y'all want that.
so the next thing we
So
look at
that's
is
so
that.
specific, it's too specific, we wanna make it more vague, or add in another requirement, I guess I'm lost there.
The cities I work for, occasionally have, we make a motion to approve, like a contract, like, motion to approve contract, so if you get it done, you don't attach it to a resolution or an ordinance.
On that last sentence, acts other than specifically enumerated may be done. Does that may leave some kind of ambiguity, or
I,
could it be must be done, or has to be done?
I want to be clear, I do try to stay in my lane. Legal issues, so I'm not making a policy statement, I'm trying not to. But, so the legal issue I have is I read it, and I took it to mean that every act of council has to be via an ordinance or resolution. That may not be the practice, but I think you can make an argument that that's what this language suggests. So I would recommend you all look at that, not necessarily look at that, clarify that.
Right, because if you think in terms of a bid package, staff brings the low bid to council, council approves the bid. There's no ordinance, there's no resolution, they're approving the bid, or accepting the bid. And there's countless other examples where council takes action without an ordinance or without a resolution. It's not like they're trying to do something sneaky, it's not a required artifact of accepting a bid, right? You don't need a resolution to accept the bid.
So you can look at the bid and just decide to go with it or not. They don't need to go write an ordinance that says we're going with this specific.
Correct.
That's
Correct.
what you're.
What he's saying is that this charter makes it look like they have to do an ordinance or they're not allowed to do
Right,
it.
and so what we may want to consider here in 314 is striking that last sentence, acts other than those specifically enumerated above, because ordinances and resolutions are,
You could just say either by ordinance, resolution, or motion.
You could.
You could just put a motion at the end of that. Because, I mean, what this is trying to preserve, right, is that to borrow money, they have to, that they do need an ordinance to at least borrow.
right,
But then, yeah, approving a bid, something like that, when you've already got the budget.
And I should say something there too. You have to do an ordinance if you're gonna borrow money via a bond. State law requires you to do an ordinance, and state law also just does one reading despite what's in the charter. And that of course, the policy behind that is, you blow and go. Investors wanna know once you adopt an ordinance or once you pass an ordinance on first reading, they take that to the market, and it's just more efficient. That's the way the market considers those kinds of transactions. So that goes back to something you said about the readings. We all talked about readings.
we did.
So from a procedure perspective, are we still okay and covered just to strike that whole sentence? Or is it really better to do what Jim's, suggesting and adding, ordinance, comma, resolution, comma, or
Or
motion?
affirmative motion.
Yeah, or affirmative motion.
Legally, what's your preference?
Legally, is there like a way that makes it more clear?
I think words matter, and I am a big proponent of, you always don't have to, this is not Mike's gospel here, but I'm a big proponent of less is more. So if you can strike language that no one has to try to figure out in the future what this means, I would recommend that.
Does striking the language open it up to like powers they wouldn't otherwise have?
No, I think, council is set up to do the business of the city. To do that, there's seven members, so they've got to take action as a body, and they've got to do that in some form or fashion. And it would be, you could say, as someone suggested, ordinance, resolution, or motion. You could say that, but I think it's.
Just strike the whole sentence.
Just strike the whole thing.
I motion to just strike the whole sentence.
Second.
I have a motion on the floor to strike the last sentence of Article 3, Section 14. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously.
Can I make a motion to put this economic incentives thing on the recommendations to City Council?
Second it.
Second from Tracy. I have a motion and a second to recommend to council that they look at proposal 27, economic development incentive transparency and approval standards in terms of adopting it in some form of resolution or ordinance
Adopting a policy on.
policy. We'll just
Yeah,
leave it at
public
that, so we're
reporting.
not specific, they can figure out. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, so we had some, so the readings on ordinances, do we determine that's on Article 4 or 3? Or 10? That's in 10.
So, yeah, so
Yep.
franchises are in 10.
Okay,
The ordinance readings are kind of
scattered. Okay, so let's look at that. So 315 is ordinances in general. C talks about reading aloud. And here's another 3. On the end of 15C, it says, if 3 council members request, a proposed ordinance shall be read aloud in its entirety. That's okay, I think. But I'm looking for, every ordinance shall be effective upon adoption or later date is so specified. Looking for the number of readings. Subject, once adopted, Norwich may be a
is
better.
the third paragraph in section B.
I was-
As specified below, a proposed ordinance shall be read at 2
Yeah.
council meetings, with at least 72 hours elapsed. in
Excuse me.
Bless you.
Gotcha. And what we're hearing is that sometimes, especially in terms of finance, going to bond elections or bond sales, those things need to be approved more efficiently.
And I believe that is already accounted for in a future section.
And you believe what?
I believe that in a future section, there is reference to a specific list of ordinance types that can be approved on first reading.
Right. So maybe rather than removing the second reading here, we just need to review when we get to Article 10, the exception. Does anyone want to dive into 13 or 15B?
Oh, so, okay, I apologize for cutting you
Go
off.
ahead.
The very end of section B lists the types of ordinances that can be approved, fully adopted on first reading. An emergency ordinance, a budget ordinance, and it references the individual sections, appropriations ordinance, ordinance pertaining to borrowing, and tax ordinance, which are all included in Article 9.
Really?
And I believe Article 9 says one.
So is there, let me ask, so state requirements, 1 reading for any ordinance or resolution.
No, state law doesn't cover anything generally, it's just that there are some specific parts of state law that apply to specific actions of council, one of which is bond ordinance.
Right.
So 1 reading, in fact, in that section, and I don't have it off the top of my head, it's the government code, it says, despite what the city has in its charter, this ordinance can only be read 1 time. And so in my experience, I've had to explain to the citizens who maybe, in my world, citizens sometimes get upset about things, you know?
Never happens.
Yeah, I know. I've come to the land of milk and honey, but, and so I've had to explain that. In fact, when I go to councils with a bond ordinance, I have that section ready and I put it into the ordinance so I can point to it and go, well, here's the law.
Right.
So, I'm not sure you have to do anything here, I think it covers it.
With that exception, I agree. I think the larger question that was posed in the request is to remove the second reading requirement from a general scope. I think that's what the ask is.
Is it because there's an amendment in the second reading? It would go into a third reading? Is it that language?
I'm sorry?
Is it because if an amendment is made at the second reading, final adoption shall be postponed until it's like another meeting?
Right,
So then it goes into 3
Right.
meetings. If we need to move something quickly, it
Right.
won't happen.
true.
Okay.
And that has happened. I have witnessed that.
Unless it's an emergency ordinance. But
Right.
that has different, okay.
Which is different. And so this request here is consider removal of second readings on all ordinances. And that's what we're looking at here.
I'm against that.
Yeah, I think we already kind of had a conversation.
Yeah, I think I like it, and I think I'm hearing, I like it exception-based.
Yes.
So in general, everything requires 2 readings, except for these things.
And the exceptions are already defined in there.
Right. And then the only one that may not be defined is the franchise, but that's in section 10 or 9 later. So we'll come back to that when we look at the exceptions. Does that sound fair to everybody?
Yes.
Indeed.
What else do we have for Article 3 other than the 305, 309 that we're going to look at? For- I'm sorry?
I got one more for three that got a little bit.
Which one is it?
I don't think Tristan was able to send it out in time. I'm happy to push it next week if we want to, but, going back to what we were talking about last week as far as, you know.
Last month.
Yeah. As far as getting information.
Make sure you're talking to a microphone over there.
Oh, mine is red, but,
You gotta
Oh,
turn
yeah,
it
you
on.
gotta make it green.
Push the group.
Push the button.
We're out of there right now. There it goes, okay. Going back to what we were talking about last month, as far as information going from the city to the city council, there's obviously an issue where members of city council want to get more information from the city. There's obviously a very genuine concern that the city doesn't have the staff or the manpower to be chasing their tail all over the place trying to get data together for random requests. So what I'm proposing is we have another position hired by the city council, similar to what you proposed last time. It's basically an analyst position. They would have read-only access to city data, not including anything that's, employee records, that's confidential, that type of stuff. And then the city council, they would work for the city council as a whole, and the city council would adopt an ordinance that would basically determine how their time is used. Maybe that's each city council member gets a certain number of hours of time every month, and maybe there's a priority list that the mayor decides. They would decide how that works, but effectively, their job is to get the data from the city, run any analysis the city council wants, without taking up any staff time of the actual city. So I have a proposal, but, I didn't distribute it, so I don't know if we can push it to next week, or work off of that, or,
Next month.
Next month.
yeah, sorry.
Sorry. So before we decide that, it sounds like there's not a lessening of a burden on staff, because I heard you say the liaison or analyst in this case now, the analyst could request stuff from.
No, the city council would request it of the analyst. The analyst has read-only access to all the city systems. So, with the exception of, and it's confidential employee records, that kind of thing. So, a city council member could go to this analyst and say, I want to know this financial report or what analysis was done for X, Y, and Z. The analyst would have access to that data. They can go get that for them. City staff doesn't have to do anything. And then, obviously limit in whatever time they have.
Well, if you're going to go
Isn't that,
far,
isn't that person a member of city staff?
No, they would work for the city council. They would be similar to the
That
city attorney.
seems to me circumventing the whole structure we have of a city manager council.
I mean, that structure still exists. This is basically an additional way to get data without having to take up city council
So
time.
But that data
taxpayers
is
increased
available
costs.
to members of council already. They can go get it themselves.
But they're also dependent on city staff having the time and manpower to get it done. In this case, the city council can determine.
But they can look it up themselves in Legistar and other places.
But they don't have access to the full city systems.
So two things going along Carol's vein here. One, you're assuming all records are digitized, and that's not true.
They have access to, that's what they have access
And,
to.
and if you have access to hard copies of files, you have more than read access, because now you're touching the file. So that there's a security issue there. The other thing that I think is bigger is, I heard you say that this wouldn't be a member of city staff.
It would be an employee of the city council, similar
So,
to the.
so there's no insurance set up, there's no retirement set up, they can't apply for TMS or TMRS, whatever it
Does the
is.
city manager not have those things?
This
But that's-
person's not
that's
a
not-
member
yeah.
of city staff, they're not a city employee.
No, they're a city council employee, similar to city manager or,
City managers
No, city manager's
works
separate.
for the city, not
then they
for
would be-
council.
When I say city staff, they're in the same level as the city not the same level, but same structure as the city manager, where they work for the city council, they report to the city council, but yeah, they would effectively be an employee of the
So
city.
they would be an employee of the city.
Yes. They just would not report to the city
And,
manager.
and as far as we're talking about limited access, city staff has access, right? They're cleared for it. You could also clear this person for to that. Wouldn't have to be read-only. They wouldn't have to go in there and write stuff on it, but they'd have access to it because they go through the same procedures as city staff does to have access to that. They have to sign waivers and all the stuff that, waivers, but, your privacy things that you have to sign.
Okay, but
So
read only.
They'd have the same requirements for them to access the information as city staff have. And I know you kind of proposed this at the last one. It passed and everything, it wasn't utilized. But I think with the argument that the city has, that they can't provide the information to our people that are making these decisions, which are city council people, that they don't have enough time. For me, that's a very lame argument. If you don't have enough time, you don't have enough people, hire more people. And you know me, I'm all about saving taxpayers' money and stuff. But I looked up, FY '27 proposed budget is $792.8 million for this coming year. That's almost $1 billion. That is a lot of money for council to be in charge of and making decisions on without having every bit of information they can possibly have to make the decisions on. And so hiring somebody to make sure that our city council is well informed, to me, it's a much better investment than a park bench or art or whatever. That is just the crux of running a company. Having the people that make the decisions have to have all the information. And if that means hiring somebody else, like what Sam's talking about, hire somebody else.
Okay.
Give
Does
them
anybody
more
else?
I have a couple questions just to understand how things work. So to hire an additional headcount in city staff, does that require it to be in the charter? Or what is required of that? And then my question for Sam really is your proposal to put into the charter that there is a person dedicated to the city council's information requirements?
Yes, and then I would give the ordinance to the city to determine how that person's time is utilized. So, not the city council, so
Yeah.
the mayor could maybe determine whose requests are highest priority, or, you submit, everybody gets a certain number of hours of this person's time. But basically, it's a dedicated support person for city council to make sure they're fully informed on whatever they need.
Yeah.
Without having to, wait for city staff to have time.
And so when this was done before and the person wasn't utilized, if I'm understanding that correctly, how was it done? Was it just that the
So-
city council was able to, or the city staff was able to say, hey, we need an extra head count by ordinance, resolution, or motion? The city council approved it and they got an extra head count? No. How did that work?
So the issue is, and like Sam pointed out, it'd be someone that right now, the city attorney, municipal judge, any associate judges, and the city manager report to council. Right? And this would be adding another report. City liaison is what we tried before. City data analyst is what we're talking about now. They would report to council. The issue when we looked at the liaison role is that is twofold. One, you're not going to be able to hire somebody at $60,000 to report to 7 bosses, right? It's a head spinning thing. And so you're looking at least $150,000, $200,000 for someone who has the ability to manage 7 bosses. The second thing was, and what we're looking at in terms of using staff time, the second thing was that there was a fear that 1 or 2 council members would monopolize this person's time. And so the notion was just to give this person to the mayor so that the mayor could direct this person. So now you help streamline a little bit. You got 1 boss and you got 1 person kind of directing the work and the questions you have. And the mayor at the time decided he didn't need that. He was getting everything he needed from city council, or from CMO, from staff. And so I don't know that this position solves the greater question that we'll be looking at next morning in terms of how requests come through. Because the way things work now is that all that work that you said that council needed will be done by city staff if a majority of council directs them. It's just right now the problem is there's this loophole of where 1 person can kind of go around the safeguards and flood the city manager's office with requests. And so that's the separate discussion we'll have next week, but this dovetails into that, I think, because now you got the same thing with a city data analyst, is 1 person using all that time, right? Is using all that resource.
A couple notes on that. So this is actually a 2-part section. The first part is the charter component, which creates the position, kind of defines what it is. The second part is that recommendation to council, and there's a couple of recommendations on here, a couple of potential options, but that kind of alleviates the concerns you're talking about where you have 7 bosses. The reality is they work for city council as a whole, but the city council will determine how that person's time is allocated, and the 2 recommendations are, 1, each member of city council gets a certain number of this person's time for a calendar period. So maybe per month they get 8 hours or 40 hours or whatever it is. The second component is everybody can propose requests that they have for this person, and then maybe the mayor is the one who prioritizes which ones they work on until they get it done. So in both cases, they're working on one thing at one point in time. They're not bouncing all over the place. Beyond just the fact that, going into the other point you made about, a lot of this stuff is managed by the city manager, and that's good. At the same time, the more eyes on something that we get, the better, because we want to make sure that nobody misses anything. I've been in companies with hundreds of people, and even if you get the best people in there, there's situations where somebody misses something, and unless you get another set of eyes on it, and you may not know to put another set of eyes on it. So the more people that are looking at something, the better. And with what we have with our form of government, we have 7 people with fiduciary responsibility to the city and to make sure that everything is done correctly. We don't necessarily want them all to operate as one brain. We want them each to have kind of their own ideas and their own thought process, and not have to, have a majority of people agree that something is an issue before they even look into it. So in some cases, it may not be an issue, and until somebody looks at it, they don't know that. And so you want to make sure that a single member can get some staff time in, can get some request time in, to find out if something is or is not an issue before, bringing it up as a major issue and having everybody vote on it without having a lot of data. So it is important to have as many access points as possible, I think, which is what effectively I'm proposing here, to try to get, a way for city council to not have to bother the city staff with stuff that may be inane and pointless. If some city council member wants to look at something that is totally not necessary or redundant or whatever it is, they have a number of hours to look at that without bothering the city council and without bothering city staff. So that's pretty much where I'm coming from.
I agree, $70,000, you're not gonna find something. Okay, if you need to pay them $150,000, pay them $150,000, because we're talking about,
That's the city manager's.
we're talking about a budget of almost $1 billion a year.
Yeah, she's through.
how much is it to have an educated staff?
I'm struggling with the fact that you just said that you'd spend $150,000 on one person, but not spend, a similar amount on council themselves, so they'd be full-time. Anybody else have any comments on this?
I was wondering if you were going to notice that. I was
It-
before.
it-
Difference
It hurt.
between a volunteer
hurt.
job and
Does anybody else?
big
excuse me,
difference
sir.
between a volunteer
Excuse
job.
me, sir. Does anyone else have something to say, Jim?
Yeah, I was just more from our attorney is this is like, are we the like, are there other cities that grapple with this kind of
There
issue of okay, what are the solutions out there, right?
Yes.
Like what,
This is
Okay.
done in the sort cities.
Yeah.
or what are the what maybe there is no solution, but what are the other approaches, right? Like for what we're facing.
I've never researched this issue. This has never come up in the cities that I've worked for. I do know that some of the larger cities have auditors that are independent, and that's set up in their charter. So they don't report to the city manager. They really report directly to council to get that independent
Are we?
view of audits and things of that
I'm
nature.
just
But
almost wondering if that's like another option then is do
We have an audit process, but I think
Yeah,
the
I'm not
premise
sure-
here
yeah.
is that this is also for strategic proposals or directions of the city stuff. The audit is looking for mistakes.
That's
and
very specific.
Yeah.
You're saying this is just an extra resource.
This is a resource for city council to get the information they need to run the city, whether that's to check for mistakes or whether that's for, I have an idea for a strategy direction, I want to make sure, we're set up to do it, or whatever it happens that they want to do.
And just to summarize, the feedback, I believe from Jim earlier is, hey, when they looked at this before, it's just, hey, to do the job we're saying is not going to be, it's going to be a high skill job, right? Like to actually have someone effective, and then you do, like, I'm just trying to recap what you guys are saying. That's kind of the argument. Do we really want that? I don't know.
And-
I'm not even weighing in on opinion. I'm just trying to summarize
Yeah.
this issue, because I feel like we're going to go around.
I mean,
and around this.
when the idea of the city liaison first came to me 6 years ago, it was kind of like, and at the time, we had a city attorney that was actually a city attorney office, right? It was a whole contracted group of attorneys. And so similarly, I thought the city liaison might be the city liaison's office, and there could be multiple staff members in that group. But none of that transpired.
To his point, I think he's right, that 60,000 is not gonna get this for you. I don't think you have to go to 200. I think, I've hired a lot of analysts like this, and, around 100, you could probably find somebody who could do most of this. And to some extent, a lot of it is just finding the right file and giving it to city council. So the analyst point of that might be some level of, there's limited and analytical work that's required as opposed to just making sure that they have the data that they actually need, that already exists in the system.
Carol?
So my question is, if I elect somebody to city council, they have access to city materials, yes. And, I as a citizen can get most of the things that a city not all perhaps, but I can get most of this stuff from public records. If there needs to be some analyzation of that, I feel that my elected representative should be doing the analyzation, not.
Well, I agree with Carol, but I think the issue here is city council does not have access to the file system, right? And
Well, no, we don't. We
Yeah.
can't sit down at a terminal.
But, I don't know
They,
at
not
what
we, they.
level do they want to know exactly what oil is used in the city cars? Or how, what is it that city council needs to make policy, large decisions? If I'm principal of a school, I don't care if the teacher's using, pens or pencils with their kids. I just want to know that they have the access to have something to write with. There's a certain level that I hold elected officials to at being able to do that without getting into very tiny, picayune details. And I just don't know. It seems to me that this is driving at a person who's going to do jobs that are already done, but now they're being done specifically for council as opposed to council and the running of the city.
so this is not so much, they're not doing the city is still operating as normal. Like, you have city staff doing city things, they're doing their day jobs. This is literally just information sharing. And to your example, if you're a principal of a school and you don't need to know pens versus pencils, but maybe you do. Maybe somebody comes to you and says, I can get you a great deal on pencils. What are you using right now? If you don't know what that is, you can't answer them. You can't look at that deal. So that's a very specific example, but I'm saying, like, we don't know what the city council needs to know.
But-
It depends on what they're working on.
The city manager is responsible for that function, like it's written.
Yes, and that
It's
won't
already
change.
written.
That won't change.
So we're creating a redundant or secondary
No,
similar
'cause
position, just giving them
We're,
less access
we're
than the
saying
city
that we're
manager
not
has.
wasting the city manager or her staff's time with inane
We are
requests.
supposed to waste it, like that's what we're paying them.
But we need to be paying more
But-
people, because the problem is
but
they're not
that's the
getting data
argument that
out.
the city manager, that the staff is giving for
Okay.
not providing information. They
Right.
don't have the time to provide this information.
So the city
So if they
manager
don't have
needs
the
to work
time
that
to
out.
provide this information that's being asked for,
Right.
then the information's not getting there.
So another question for me is, when did this become a problem? It hasn't been a problem in the past couple of years that I know of. It's suddenly become an issue.
I don't know what's happened a couple years ago, but I know recently there's
it's
been
happened
requests
recently.
and they're not getting answered. They don't have
Well, it
timely
might have to
responses.
do with the amount of requests and the types of requests.
Well, this
And
solves
so-
that. That's the
But
point.
to me, that's a policy thing. It is not a charter level.
Like that's a
So
city manager issue.
Here's the thought. It sounds like we have all the expertise we need already in place, and you're just adding an intermediary with constraints on that intermediary so that their time isn't used up by one council member, that each council member has access to it. Why don't we just take your list of constraints and put that on council in terms of interacting with city staff?
Because
Because now they can ask.
this position
they
has
can-
actual access to the file.
So
they
does city
themselves-
staff, and this way council can ask their staff directly for things, which is what we want them to do, with whatever guidelines and constraints you have articulated there.
I think the concern here is that if there's a request, and city council may have a completely inane request, you might have a council member who's like, this is a totally stupid thing to be asking. They are still an elected official, they're a fiduciary responsibility to hold their office, and they, for whatever reason, think they need document X. If you go through the current city process, there's asking for document X when everybody knows this is a totally pointless exercise is a waste of city staff time. And what this does is it provides an opportunity for a person who has a fiduciary responsibility to, what they feel like, go look for document X, they can go now get that information for, without wasting
I
everybody's
just
time.
don't think that's worth more than $60,000.
Yeah, I feel like you're
Well, that's
obfuscating.
what we
That's
pay
a-
them is
that's
not
a-
part of the problem.
But that is gonna be the general consensus to vote on though, is like,
We
what is the
could.
cost of the person that gives us that
But I don't
That's up
access?
for
think we need
city
that.
council to
I don't
decide.
hear a lot of
Right.
support for it. So,
We're
so
gonna make a change in the charter.
Jolly, did you want to make additional comment?
No.
Okay. It's,
I will in a moment, I'm gathering that.
yes, sir.
Because we have city council members that have access to all information. We're talking about putting one party in place to absorb the questions, then give the information back to our city council members. So the way I'm seeing that is, opposed to having, let's just say, 7 people going out, researching, doing what they're supposed to do, now you have 7 points of views to discuss. We want to take that away and have one person do that?
Mm-mm.
I'm just,
No,
I'm
no,
missing a
so-
piece.
So right now, they don't have access to, like, the city council has to go through the city manager to get anything from the city. And the city manager has limited resources. So right now, if they have their individual positions, their individual opinions, they have no way of validating those or understanding what's going on without going through a whole process and waiting for staff time to become available. Maybe that specific thing they're requesting isn't really that important, so city staff kind of postpones that. What this does is it gives them a resource to go get that for their individual position, their individual point of view. It would work for the city council as a whole, but each member of the city council can go get the stuff that they are specifically interested in and have a resource to get that timely and quickly in order to get something done.
All right.
That would be a position on the city council, and be a recommendation from us for them to consider that.
They can't hire somebody without it being in the charter, I think, right?
Council cannot.
Yeah.
Staff can. So,
I have a question. Sorry, is there a prioritization process that the city manager and staff use when they receive information requests in terms of like, it's high priority if it's a compliance issue or a budget issue, and then like there's less and less, like it I guess because I'm like, what is council not getting? What is
Yeah,
it that
and
they're
so-
not getting and to
If
be
I-
able to do
if
their
I may.
jobs?
Go ahead.
So just to take maybe a step to the side, the recently adopted information access policy covers some of this. So if an elected official is requesting a copy of something that already exists, they go through me. It's basically, can we leave that open? We do have to leave that open. It's
I have to leave it
yes,
open?
please, yes.
It's so noisy, it's really
I am-
making it hard
I
for us
know.
to hear.
For open meetings, it needs
Can
to
I
be open.
open it halfway?
I really need it to be all the way open.
Needs to be open.
So
you, sir.
Lock the other door.
the policy, so basically they send a records request, and so it goes through essentially the same process as an open records request, and so I have times at which I need to respond to them, and that is the same as open records request. If it's going to take longer than those 10 business days, I tell them, and I tell them why, and then we work through that.
Jim, I recommend we take a 5 to 10 to move our legs because I'm freezing.
Sounds good to me. Time is 7:30. We are in recess until 7:37. 7, we are back.
Have them for
Most of us are back.
Put them in my please.
That makes sense.
Can you check out, see if we got anybody hanging out? There they come. 1, 2, all right. It's still 7:37, you made it.
I'm not mad or hiding anything, it's just cold, that's why my hands are in my pockets.
Yep,
Chris,
I get it.
to help Carol out here, can we open the
I got
other door
another jacket
instead of
if
that
anyone
one?
wants one.
So we just have an open door, but it's not directly behind her?
I'm good with this. Do we need another jacket?
Carol, you want me to switch doors that are open?
Josh, you want a jacket?
Oh, I'm good. I'm good. Thank you.
'Cause I'm not wearing it.
All right, so we're back,
Do you want the
guys, we're
warmers?
back. And I appreciate everyone trying to figure out ways to warming up the room. Fireworks, I'm just,
Right here.
no, don't, no fire. No fire. Okay, so we're discussing the possibility of adding a city analyst, and I'm going to, or a council analyst, I'm going to suggest that this is really just a part of the 305, 309 discussion, and that if we look at that in with those other things and this new document that council voted on, I think we'll all be more prepared.
Can I
And
make a
so-
motion let me make a motion to push this till to next meeting.
You don't have to make a motion to do that. We don't have to vote on that.
Okay.
I think by acquiescence, we can just move that to the next
Because,
meeting.
yeah, I also would like to see what,
Yeah.
the next couple months look like.
Yeah.
Or month.
Anything else from Article 3?
I kind of do. I'm sorry. I apologize. I was sick the first 2 meetings and I just felt so horrible not being here.
Are you
And
still,
know how to-
did you get over the Ebola or?
Sick 2 different times. Hey, a month apart from meetings, so it just happened to be.
All right.
And it's and sorry for the grumbles because it was late at night for the rest of the conversation that and it was kind of a point of order as far as how the vote went on section 304, which was the compensation part. My issue with the way we did it was the fact that we just people that didn't want. If there's a vote to actually go ahead and give payment compensation for to give compensation to the council, then it's either going to pass by a majority or it's going to fail by a majority. And whenever we did the vote, people who wanted to vote 0 were forced to vote by an amount, which forced an amount to everyone to pick a low amount, which was different. It just the way that it went, it needs to be. I feel like we just a quick kind of a revote temper on how that went. So either it passes, and then multiple votes as to like the amounts. Because if we can only pick this amount or this amount, maybe we're picking one amount or another. Versus yes, I'd be willing to pay this amount or this amount, or no, I just don't. So it's just a matter of a point of order of how that vote went. That just kind of bothered me on it. So, like, I feel like it does need to be 3 separate votes. Are you willing to pay? We said 2,000. I'm sorry.
So we did have the
1,000.
first part of your,
Yeah.
we did vote whether or not we were gonna compensate them, and the majority said we're gonna compensate them. I don't know if you missed that.
I got that.
Okay, good.
But then when you went back around and you did the amount, you said you have to pick you have to pick one amount,
Right.
and anyone who wanted to pay vote no amount picked no amount, had to pick an amount, and they had to pick the 500, and it kind of just skewed and altered everything the way that vote went.
And the thought
it-
with having to pick an amount was that the body had already moved to compensate them.
But if
So no amount is no longer applicable.
No, it's almost the opposite. Craig doesn't like that the no amount people went to the low amount because it skewed the pay low. I believe that's Craig's position.
Yeah.
He's trying to say.
Yeah,
But
it-
Craig, the majority went for that low number, right? So are you disappointed with the
Well-
outcome?
well,
I think you're disappointed with the outcome of the vote.
well, the fact that there were the choices of a higher amount, a lower amount, or no amount, and everyone had to pick one of the amounts.
There was
one
no
of the-
more no amount. There was no no amount as a choice.
I apologize. There were only the 2 amounts, and anyone who wanted the no amount, they picked this one. Anyone who wanted to settle, at least try and get something, they would pick this one instead of giving a choice between multiple choices. To me, it just felt a little off on how we did it. And I don't want to visit it again. And I did want to, and as far as, I did want to bring up one other point.
Okay, before you.
I'm sorry.
Is it
Yes.
congruent to this?
It's again on 304. As
Okay,
far as
carry on.
one other point to consider as far as the compensation, because one of the concerns was what happens if they're not doing their job? Like, oh, they're just going to get paid to do it. Well, one of the things that I know that the city council was talking about was like censuring. That doesn't have any teeth. Well, that could be something that could happen. Another thing is we could also have it written in there that it could be offered to them, and then if they choose, they could choose to actually not accept that amount, which that money would go right back to the city instead. So they could be like, many politicians get paid, but they say, oh, I'm just going to donate it back. So it could be an option for them. So if they need it, they could have it, but then they could optionally still give it back. And at least it's there as a possibility to help those who do need it.
We don't have to codify that, because if someone gives you money and you choose to donate it, you don't need a document for that. You
Okay.
can always donate it to PAWS or to the city general
Okay.
fund or United Partners or whoever.
Sure. Sorry, I'm only
And
talking
you can
about
make-
because
and
the
you-
mic's that far.
And you
So
can
I'm
make,
not trying to yell.
and you can make a public statement to that effect at the beginning of the council meeting, that you donated your money this month to
Okay.
X organization. That's already part of it.
Pennies and drop it off.
And so the general discussion is, in terms of the way we voted for the compensation amount, does everybody feel that the way we voted was reflective of an honest, open process? Or,
Okay.
I see heads shaking, or does anybody think we need to revisit that and structure a different type of vote?
I thought it
Yes,
made
Carol.
sense.
I felt that when we voted that there would be compensation, that you automatically had to take 0 off the table, because that, now you had to have compensation.
Right.
Yeah, we had the first vote, and then it was whether they should be compensated or not. And I had my voice to say no.
Right.
At that point. I got outvoted. And so the next vote was, okay, now we're gonna pay them. How much are we gonna pay them? Okay. If 0's nothing, so that's the first vote. So you gotta set, you could set, we're gonna pay them 50 cents, we're gonna pay them $100, we're gonna pay them $500, we can pay them $1,000. You can set, there's infinite numbers that you could put in there. I think I proposed a number for a low end, which we went with, and then somebody else proposed a higher
the
number,
high one.
which was higher. And so we use those two, because you can't have an infinite numbers
Oh, I know.
that you can vote for. And so when we had a high end, we had a low end, we put those two to vote, and the low end won.
There was 3 options.
There was a
Yeah,
bid.
It was a five, 1,000, and 2,000.
And I think
Yeah,
Jim
so-
did a good way, but I'm just having trouble understanding what your specific problem was. Because I think, Jim,
Well, it
you
was-
also went through and said, like, even without the 0 votes, the 500 still won, I think, right?
Correct.
Okay. I was concerned that maybe some people were voting for, if you could only pick of the amounts, they were only voting for 500, because at least that'd be more reasonable, instead of like, yes, I'm willing to give different amounts. I'd be okay giving at least
Well,
any amount, or some people
well,
would give more,
I
and I don't know, but
I proposed
I'm
some-
okay to pass.
Yeah, I proposed a low
If y'all
number.
felt with it.
I proposed a low.
2,000, yes or no, and then go the third round.
Yeah,
Like-
I wanted everyone to just, is that, who's okay with 2,000, who okay with 1,000,
Yeah,
who's
I
okay
got you.
with 500? And if it's like, it was just that the rounds of the fact that you had to pick one of those, well, I didn't get a choice of, I would be good with any one of those. Some people would say, I would only want to give them the big amount, some people would only give the small amount. And it just kind of, it was that balance. And then it was overpowered with the 500 specifically, also with the no votes being that too. But that's a little bit less of the point, it's a matter of the other.
You
And I
did
don't
like a
want to push
gold,
it, it's just
silver, and
that,
Yeah,
it was just
it's-
something I wanted to bring up, and if y'all feel it's fine the way it was, I'm okay with that, I just.
Craig,
and
Craig.
Yeah.
It's not a bad argument.
Yeah.
And so the question is, the way we voted, right? We had the 3 amounts, and those 3 amounts I don't think need to change. We're not asking for that. the question is, do y'all have the appetite to vote individually for those three things and pick the one that gets the most votes? Or are we happy with the way that it turned out?
Scientifically, the results should be the same, because if they wanted to go higher than 500, they would have voted for 1,000. Unless you're trying to say,
Well,
oh,
you
it's
can vote.
50.
It's, I don't, scientifically it doesn't play a factor when people are voting emotionally.
Well,
Or
I mean,
however, right? Yeah, no,
If you're going to go in order and do 500 first, you would have gotten the 9 votes or whatever that we got, and then you would do 1,000. If those 500 people were okay with 1,000, they would have voted for 1,000.
For that as well.
So I think it would be
Unless
the same
they were
result.
settling for the 500. That's why I was
They
like.
could have voted for the 1,000.
I would have went
Yeah,
2,000.
and like, I don't know everyone's
500.
opinion on it, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, is because, like, it's not popular for some people, and like, maybe they're wanting to make sure at least to kind of at least do something, so
all
it's
right,
just.
so let's do
that
it,
one little
let's do it this way.
So.
By a show of hands, how many people would like to reopen the vote on compensation? Raise your hand. All right.
It's totally fine. That's what democracy is. and I'm
Are
happy
you
with it.
satisfied, sir?
Yes, sir,
All
absolutely.
right, very good.
That's why I like democracy.
Do we have any other items in Article 3 that someone would like to discuss or potentially add, other than the one Sam already brought to us? Wow, that's awesome.
Actually got through something?
All right, I am going back to. So I'm closing item 3B. Item 3C, discuss and consider action regarding recommendations for possible amendment to the city charter, Article 4. Looking over at the first thing I have open, I've got the article starting with annual city manager performance goals and public accountability. Who wants to take this one?
So this one is basically just implementing a basic employee annual review for the city manager position. We could also look at this potentially for other city council positions, which is, I don't know if we need it for the attorney, but, and it basically gives, the city council the mandate to adopt a set of quantifiable goals for the city manager for a given year. And that can be, the budget has to be within X percent, or I'll leave that up to them on what those specific goals are. And then at the end of the year, they would do an employee review of the city manager and publicly post how close she was on those quantifiable goals. And then publicly post that. It allows, one, the city manager to show that she has value, and then the city council to also make sure that the goals of the city manager position are being met.
You're aware that council already has a review process for the city manager?
Yeah, this is just more quantifiable. It's more public facing, and
How would, and so you would want to make it more quantifiable, but leave the quantifying to council to affect by ordinance?
so what would be in the charter is that there has to be a specific number of quantifiable metrics, and it has to be on specific topics. I forget what I put in here, but
So I think if council were able to identify quantifiable objects to measure whether or not city attorney, municipal judge, city manager were being effective, I think they would have quantifiable objectives. Targeting a budget within a percentage point, as I heard you mention, doesn't even
not a
make sense.
percentage point.
Doesn't even make sense to me.
A specific percentage, not a percentage point.
Like an increase in population for the judge, the number of
But that's
people
quantifiable.
put in jail.
If you're talking about, you would put that into, and again, I'm not specifically recommending a specific goal, but what I'm saying is that you would come up with some quantifiable numbers where, hey, the budget is supposed to be this. Did they come in above or below that? Did the city growth was supposed to be X, and if the policies, if that's part of what the city manager's tasked with doing is growing the city or stopping growth or whatever their goals are for the city for that year, you quantify what we want the city to look like a year from now.
Carol, yeah, go ahead.
My assumption would be that they have a quantifiable one. I know the city manager's professional organization recommends 2 to 3 to be used. And I just can't imagine, I mean, do you know that they're not using quantifiable?
Well, but all this does is codifies it. This says they have to do this, and then it's publicly posted.
I've said to several other things. To me, this is policy, it's not charter. It's,
And that's a fair point.
Jamie?
How is your proposal different than number 13, where it gives you a 5-year implementation plan, where
13, what?
It's 13 and 4.01. At least 120 days before the beginning of the budget, like they have to give you a plan. The plan must list projects, orders, preferences with a recommendation for the year of construction for each project.
That's the capital improvement plan. That's the
But there's
construction.
things there already within the 1 through 13. So powers of duties, I guess, is what you're trying to quantify. Is like
Yeah,
if that's the
this is
question. It's like
basically
where
an
is this fitting into your?
There
your
is an
proposal?
annual analysis of the city manager, but what this does is quantifies what that has to include and making sure that the process is very transparent and public and open, where, like any employee in any company, they have goals for the year, and this is analyzing how they meet those goals at the end of the year, and this puts this,
Not true. Not any employee for any company. That's not true.
well, most
I've
companies.
run teams and not had, you
Reviews.
had to write 10,000 lines of code or I'm going to fire you. I never had,
Not like that, but
I didn't have quantifiable.
you still would have a review at the end of the year to
objectives.
see how they're meeting their
They were
targets.
all
and-
qualitative.
But
Every
you could do
review I've ever done
qualitative.
is.
I'm saying don't do qualitative because that makes it too subjective, and we don't want to put the city manager through that where they're just subjected to kind of
I
qualitative
guess, once
goals.
again, I just want you to point like where is this fitting in?
So
in
all of those ones in there aren't doing the same thing. So one of those is a capital improvement plan, which is the one you just looked at. I'm trying to remember what the other ones here were. I went through them earlier. So there's a 5-year capital improvement plan.
And then on the first page, it like talks about they have a year, like they kind of break it
It's an
down.
annual budget.
Yeah.
That's just proposing a budget. The report on finances, so these are reports, these are reporting requirements, but it's not quantifiable metrics that you can compare performance against.
Could you give an example of a quantifiable metric?
Well, okay, so if you're looking at what the city wants to do in a given year, we want to be under budget, or we want to put in X number of water treatment plants, or, whatever the goals are for the year, you quantify, okay, the city manager is tasked with getting this done in this next calendar year. At the end of the year, you have a number that you can now go back to and say, okay, we're supposed to do 5, we did 6, or, we're supposed to grow by 6%, and for some reason we grew by 3%. That doesn't mean it's bad, it just means we're objectively looking at a scorecard at the end of the year to determine where we are and where we need to improve and that kind of thing, like any other employee review.
But how would that be germane to the city manager's performance? To Terry's question, that's not, percentage of population is not a metric by which I want to grade my city manager.
I'm just using an easy metric to
He asked you for specific quantifiable metrics that you would,
Well,
that you
budget's
see.
a perfect one. If the budget is supposed to be $700 million and the budget comes in at $1.3 billion, well, we're way over budget.
So we had a COVID epidemic or we
Which
had
is
an
fine.
ice
There could be an
storm or
explanation
something.
for that, but I'm saying we're quantifying
But
that.
if there's
and
no qualitative assessment, it would be quantifiably over budget, and that's a bad thing. And
It's not a bad thing. I'm just saying we're publicly posting, it was supposed to be this, it's this.
we already do that with the budget. So we need an example in terms of a quantifiable metric to measure the performance success of the city manager. That's what you're asking
It would depend on
for.
what the city council wants to accomplish for that calendar year.
Well, some of that, trust me, I get what you're saying. But I also see that the city manager, a lot of the metrics that she has to meet are determined by what the city council passes and what the city council decides. And so how can, you got a city council that sets these metrics for her, but actually they're driving a lot of those metrics.
But that becomes very useful information for them on going back and saying, hey, we want to do all these things, and these things were not accomplished, and then they can go back and analyze why was that, or, maybe these things were all accomplished, and they can go back and say, okay, well, what did we do right this year, and how did we do this again?
Which again is a qualitative assessment of the quantitative
But
numbers.
that's not
And so-
required.
and so-
This is the
and
quantitative
So I could
component of that.
I can make the argument that we completely remove the city manager review process, because one council member might give her a 0, another council member might give her a 5. As you said, it's based on perception. What truly matters is the council satisfied with the state of the city? And if not, council is going to vote to remove that person and hire someone else. And so I'm not sure we even need a review process. The city manager serves at the whim of council. And at any point, council can say, we're going to buy out the rest of your contract, or we're not going to renew your contract.
This is not as far as this is a review of the city manager, but this is not saying like, oh, let's find a justification to fire the city manager. That's not what this is trying to do here. This is just trying to say that everybody's on the same page, including the public, on this was the goals for the city manager, what they're supposed to accomplish with the city for this year, and that's publicly available, and then those goals are publicly compared against at the end of the year, so that everybody knows this is what was expected and this is what will happen. And if you want to say, okay, let's not make it about the city manager, let's make citywide goals that, maybe are the city council goals or the strategic goals of the city in this upcoming year, I'm totally open to that idea as well.
Thank you. Does anybody else have any comments on this idea of making quantitative performance metrics for the city manager?
Comments is that it should be policy, not in the charter.
By a show of hands, how many people think this is policy affected by city council? How many people think this should belong in the charter?
And again, like I said, that's a very fair point that Carol made. I'm totally okay with this being also a recommendation. I just want to throw this idea out there as something that we need to consider is.
I'm not even sure it needs to be a recommendation. If they're already looking at.
So Jim, so this is the question, and Jim, you've got maybe more experiences, are we concerned with the performance evaluation process we have in place today, or that the city uses today? Is there a concern about it?
My concern is that as a random, citizen, there's really not a lot of information on, is the city actually accomplishing what the city is trying to accomplish? Like, are we spinning our wheels? Do we have set goals for a coming year? And are those goals being met? Whether that's the city manager or the city as a whole or the city council, there's not really a quantifiable metric of, for 2026, we're going to do these 15 things, and we want to make sure that our budget is in good shape, our capital improvement plans are, where all these projects are on we have let's say an 80% completion rate of all the projects that we plan to do this year. All those metrics that go into what we're trying to accomplish this calendar year. There's nothing comparing that to the end of the year. Did we accomplish that?
I think I agree. I'm interested in the same, but I don't know that we should support and rally members to city council that agree with that viewpoint, right? I almost feel like that's the way to affect that change, right? Is if we get right, it's really the city council that has to demand that transparency and goal set. I don't know. That's my general thought on it, right?
I don't think you're wrong. I'm just saying we need to be able to kind of see. And that, again,
Sam, I'm trying to keep you from monopolizing the conversation. I'd like to hear other people. I think we understand where you're coming from, okay? And saying the same thing over doesn't help. Or trying to clarify it. I think we understand it. Let's have some other people
I
talk.
have a question. So currently, do we have criteria and metrics that currently can be measured for our city manager?
Yes. Yes.
So that answers the question. That's already in place.
Which what are you thinking when you say what criteria and metrics are you thinking of to answer that?
Well, I asked, was there metrics and criteria that currently can be measured for our city manager's performance? And if I understand, that's already in place. There is metrics and criteria.
It's not codified to the point of what Sam's asking for. So for instance, when when the city manager is reviewed annually, they go into executive session because it's a personnel matter. And she's reviewed on, how close was the budget? It's not a metric in terms of there's a grade for it, right? But if budget is significantly over or significantly under, council is going to ask questions about that, and they're going to ask why. And the answer to that why is going to be a qualitative sort of assessment, right? There's metrics on employee turnover in terms of how many people left and why do we have that employee turnover. There's metrics on how many departmental complaints. There's metrics on, we had this many bond projects scheduled, how many of them completed in a timely fashion, how many of them were delayed. There is a slew of metrics by which the city manager is evaluated. And some of them have quantitative basis, but the assessment is always a qualitative assessment in terms of, are we happy or is council happy with the city manager's performance?
So I think to Sam's point and your point, it's the executive session secrecy that surrounds it being a personal matter.
It's a
That
personnel
the
matter.
public isn't privy to those metrics that you just described.
Right.
Okay? So we don't see this and this. You as a city councilman has, being part of that discussion, has seen.
Right.
And so we're left in like, okay, did they just say, hey, you're doing a good job? Or did they actually sit down and go, this is what it is, this is what, because we're not privy to that.
Well,
And I think
get
that's
that.
what Sam is
And plus it
trying to
gives the
say.
opportunity
He
for a
wants
city
it more,
council member to
more out
just
in the public
not
where,
like the city manager.
where we know what you're defining.
No more than any of us here would be privy to
Right.
a fellow employee's review. That employee's still there, they must be doing a good job. If I don't like that, then I take it to their boss and find a new boss, right? And so I don't see the necessity here, and I think council is doing this already. I don't even see the reason to make this a recommendation.
And we are privy to some of it in the reports that come in.
Absolutely.
The city reports, the annual report of, we had so many bond issues, and this is how much were completed. This is the budget. And, I mean, all of that is public information.
Yeah, well, I think what Jim just did for us, gave us examples, that was good. Okay, and that's what the general public tends to like to hear. Okay, we're evaluating your city managers, these are some of the things we're looking at. And that way and you don't have to say, okay, she did this, she did this, she did this. These are just the general things, and I don't think it needs to be in the charter. Okay, I don't think that's in there. But for just general information for the public to know how their city manager's being evaluated, not the specifics. Did she make an A here or B here? Did she pass this? Did she pass it? More, yeah, we're evaluating her on exactly what you just said, the type of stuff. That helps. And I don't see I think that's just the way it is. It's just a state of the process that it is. Being in an executive session, not going to come out of executive session because it's private, individual.
Right.
But it does leave some of the public thinking, okay, are they in there just good old boy patting each other on the back saying, hey, we're going to give her a raise? Or are they actually looking at what she's done?
The reason I'm saying it's quantifiable is, one, it doesn't necessarily need to be an executive session because these are public numbers that we either met these metrics or we didn't. And two, it prevents the situation of if you have a city councilman who doesn't like the city manager, they're not allowed to just badmouth her and give her a bad grade or a bad rating just because they don't particularly like her. They have to judge her on an objective. And it doesn't take away the qualitative components, but when you're talking about publicly releasing a report, does she meet these, criteria for this year? Did she meet the goals? That's objective. You can't say like, oh, I just don't like her, so I'm going to give her a bad grade. She either met them or she didn't. And I think the criteria there is allowing it to be publicly posted without it being proprietary information, and then also preventing like bias from affecting those grades.
So let's go this route before we dig too deeply down this hole. How many, Jolly?
One thing, as we're talking about this, we're kind of making it personal by saying her.
Sir.
Can we refer to this matter as the city manager?
I think that's good.
Well said, sir. Thank you.
Yeah.
How many people think we need to pursue the topic of quantitative assessments for the city manager? How many people think we should move on? Okay. Give another chance. How many people think we should make a recommendation to council to reevaluate their process for evaluating the city manager's performance? How many people think we need to leave it alone?
I don't think I know enough to be able to respond, like, just, I don't feel like I understand exactly how she's evaluated. I'm not in the room with you, so I don't feel like I can vote either way on that.
Fair enough.
So Jim, I almost wonder if we could get like some understanding of what the process actually does look like for evaluating all of the city, so the legal counsel, what is, like, is there, what do they do, right? Maybe we can look at that.
When I'm evaluated at my work, I am evaluated quarterly at my work, as is all the employees. We have a form, and we have to fill out the form, managers fill out the form. That blank form, before it's ever filled out, is what people are asking about. I think what you're asking about is what is on that blank form, not what our city manager has done on each of those, but just a blank form of saying, okay, did you meet, did they meet these goals? Did they meet these goals? Did they meet these goals? You know, some kind of blank form on that.
It's, Tristan, is it a reasonable ask to get a copy of the performance questionnaire, whatever, that's sent to the city manager, or that the city manager fills out? Is there a document for that?
I don't know.
Okay. If you would please ask, and if there is one, distribute that to the group to review. And if there isn't one, please distribute that fact to the group. And then we can pick it up from there. Does that seem fair?
I like that. That way we have something to actually look at.
Right, and it helps address Lacey's,
Yeah.
it addresses Lacey's point of, we really don't know what we're talking about.
Exactly. It may be there,
Yeah.
which I really think it is.
Yeah, and the other, to segue from something that Sam said, that because there is a lot of qualitative perceptions of city manager performance, there's a good argument that can be made to remove the review process. It's just an extra burden for any of us that have had reviews. You're like sweating bullets, right? You're like, what am I going to get a 5 or am I going to get a 3? I got a 5 last year. Am I get a 4 this year? Does it mean I suck now, or right? I mean, there's a lot of stress around those, and the argument, and not that it's not part of the job, but the argument is, does the city manager have better things to do than justify how great they are, right?
Well, to that point, that goes back to, like, the city council may have more influence over the direction of the city than the city manager does. And that's where I was kind of agreeing with you that, you know, in that case, there is an argument to be made, do we pull the review from the city manager and make it an overall city goals chart, where it's a review of the city performance, whether it's the manager, the council, the weather, whatever it is that happened that year, and just kind of having basically for public perception, to make sure that the public is comfortable knowing that on these quantifiable metrics, the city is accomplishing everything they set out to do, or they're missing it, and in the case, that brings up the question, why?
Sorry, I always hear my grandfather's voice in my head, who said, "Figures never lie, but liars always figure." Yes,
Can I
ma'am.
ask a question? The mayor used to do a state of the city report. Isn't that a reflection of how well the city manager is doing also?
I would think that's a true statement.
Okay.
I would think that's a very true statement. For those of us that have attended that, it's phenomenal.
Okay.
All right. Anything else on that? Thank you. Sorry, I need to make a quick note here. All right. this goes. I can close that one. I've got another Article 4, starts with proposal, severance approval, and disclosure requirements. Who wants to take this one?
So hopefully this one's a little bit less contentious. This is just one that seemed like it was a missing statute in our charter. Effectively what this does is when the city attorney or the city manager is fired, if they are given a severance beyond what was in their original contract, it just has to be publicly announced by and then voted on by a supermajority of the city council, with just an explanation of why that was different. These are the ones that report to city council.
If it goes beyond the contract, it's already reported publicly?
Yeah, so if they were to like fire one of those positions and then they negotiate as part of the leaving a different severance package, this would just be voted on by a supermajority and the reason.
So again, if there was an agreement to pay above the standard severance,
Yes.
that would have to be a public vote by council because that's a fiscal expenditure.
Yeah,
So that's already there.
Supermajority, and then.
So you're asking, the only change you're asking for is to make that a supermajority.
Yeah, and then also
Okay, so
specific
let's-
reporting requirements on what that difference was.
That, again, that would be part of the public vote, so that's already there. So I'm going to the charter, and could you point to which section specifically in Article 4 we're talking about? Is there a severance section already? 401 something.
There's no mention of severance.
So you're wanting to
Jim, I
add
believe you're
that.
explaining to us is that it's already mostly covered by the fact that any expenditure over what's already in the contract.
Right, the contract is public because that's voted on when they hire the city manager or the city attorney. If I cared to go look at the contract, I could tell you how much Mike's making over there.
No contract.
At will, look at that. Yeah, of course. But the city manager has a contract. I assumed you had one that you don't. I don't know how good of a lawyer you are. Sorry. Didn't mean it. And yeah, so the contract, I believe, is public information, or can be requested with a FOIA. I know that you can look at city manager salary surveys, and they got them, TML has them all listed there. And so you can see how your city manager ranks to other cities of similar sizes or whatnot. And then again, in terms of severance, if the severance is outside the scope of the existing contract, that's a fiscal expenditure that council would have to vote on publicly.
Well, yeah.
They would,
confident in that.
they might come to a loose agreement of terms in terms of what that would be, but then they'd come out and say, executive session is over, no action was taken, and then someone would make a motion.
All right, yeah, so if you're confident in that, I'm willing to pull that off the table. I just
Okay.
wanted to bring this to
That's
discussion.
exactly, yes, thank you.
Is there anything that's in the state law that dictates what severance packages, or like, is there any governance there from a state law perspective?
There is, and I think it was adopted, do you remember, I think it was this last session, they have limited severances for, council, I don't know if it's council-appointed employees, but certainly employees of the city. It's limited to 6 or 7 months of their total salary. And it's in response to some of those newspaper items we've all seen where they pay someone $500,000 to go off into the ether. So
Okay.
I'll get you all that information, or I'll get it to Tristan. You all can look at that.
Okay, thank you.
Those are the only documents I had regarding Article 4, unless I missed any.
City manager's absence
I'm sorry?
Oh, that's right, there was a
from
proposal
Mayor
about-
Weiss.
Sorry, two people talking. I got old man hearing.
Go ahead.
City manager's absence, 4.01C4 from Mayor Weiss.
Is that one of our,
Proposal to change excused by council to excused by the mayor. With the rationale behind it just being if something comes up.
Yeah.
Is that a,
that's right, that was,
Is that a reasonable, you're saying this seems like a reasonable thing? Okay.
Yeah, 'cause, I mean, if it's by council, it's gotta be in a meeting and a vote.
Yeah, exactly. We'll have to revisit it if it ever comes up that the mayor just starts excusing the city manager every meeting. I find that unlikely as a general rule. I don't think it'll be abused,
I would
right?
think
Like,
the mayor would probably want the manager there yet.
well, it could be.
Jim, could you point me to the subsection we're looking at, please?
Subsection
It's number 4.
4.01 C4.
C4, thank you. And we're suggesting to amend that language how, or strike that provision?
No, just change unless excused by the council, strike council and add city manager. But I mean, that's.
No,
mayor.
Sorry, my bad,
Yeah.
my bad. Yeah.
What if the mayor's absent, then it'd have to be acting mayor?
Well,
Yeah,
yeah,
the
Mayor pro tem.
Yeah.
but that's built in already.
Should it be a or mayor?
No, but the city council, the problem is once you say city council, they have to vote on it. So like, basically what that means is that, like,
They brought,
yeah.
good examples.
They'd have to have a meeting to
They'd
excuse
have to
it,
have a meeting to excuse the city manager
Yeah.
from a future meeting if there's any sort of a.
and that doesn't
situation
make
around.
sense.
And I don't recall ever voting on the city manager's vacation request. So, yeah, this would probably be something good to change.
I move that we change that 4.01, what was it, C4?
C4.
You know, strike the word council at the end of the sentence and change it to mayor.
Second.
I got a motion and a second. All approved, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carried unanimously. All right, thank you for backtracking to that. I also found from staff, also in section 401, city manager residency requirements. I know, for instance, the city of, whatever Westlake is actually called, I know their city manager lives in Pflugerville, or city administrator, fancy title. And so there's some question about whether or not, what's the benefit of requiring the city manager to live within the city limits as opposed to, say, within the city's ETJ or within the school district?
They're spending their tax dollars here.
Yeah, they
Yes,
can't get
if-
influenced by their.
I'm sorry, two people can't talk at the same time.
I think if the city manager needs to live in the same area that's being taxed by the city. And if you're in the ETJ, you don't
Okay,
pay city
but, okay,
taxes.
I understand what you said. Why?
Because she makes decisions on those taxes, and she needs to be subjected to those same taxations, just like the city council is subjected to those same taxations, so that she's not making, it's like being.
So they,
The city council and
no,
the city manager.
they, the city manager, we're using non-definitive pronouns here. We had that discussion
Yeah, oh,
already.
did I say she? I meant city. Okay, the city manager, whoever that is.
Yes,
And the city council should be required to live in the area that they are making decisions on taxation.
okay, so the city manager, for the record, does not make decisions on taxation. Council does, and they're already required to live in the city
But
limits.
she does
Okay,
make the
that-
budgets and
thank-
stuff for it.
Thank you. Sam, you had something.
A very similar note is that she's making policy
They-
decisions, they are making policy decisions or proposals that affect the city. And if she's leading the city, she needs to.
They?
Sorry.
I'm gonna keep doing it. It's not that hard, guys.
They need to be subjected to the same rules that they put in.
But again, it's a false statement. The city manager does not make taxation rules. The city manager does not spend money. That's all approved through council. Nope, we got Josh over here.
So I get your argument by having them live in the city, but if we are only getting applicants or candidates from the city, does that not limit our talent pool either?
It says they.
So there's a requirement that they have to relocate here, within I think it just says a
180 days.
reasonable time. I
No,
don't think
within 180 days.
which may or may not be reasonable, and council can vote to extend that, I believe, if necessary, or ignore it.
Did you finish, Josh?
Oh, I'm good.
Okay.
And so, Jamie,
Oh, yeah, I think because of the decisions that they have to make and the responsibilities that they have to go to, like they're at city events, they're ingrained in the culture of Pflugerville. I would much rather have someone willing to ingrain themselves in Pflugerville so that we can create a community of belonging and acceptance. And so I do think I would appreciate someone who would be willing to, manage the employees that live here, but also live here themselves.
so employees aren't required to live within the city,
No, but she's managing the requirements of them being here.
but there definitely would be an advantage of requiring first responders to live in the city, for example.
Well, they work here, so they're here when they're responding
Right.
to.
So, then so it's not an issue of taxation for
No,
you?
mine's
It's an
culture.
issue
Yeah,
of being
culture.
involved in the community.
Yeah.
Can you live in the country and still be involved within the city? Can you live in the ETJ, for example?
And be part of the culture?
Yeah,
Yes.
okay.
I see more of it as a basket. I think there is some amount of, the city manager has such direct influence over how the dollars end up being spent.
Yeah.
Right? Not the taxes themselves, but how they get spent, that the more we can, and in the community piece, connect those dots and have someone that's actually on the receiving end, right? Like there's a phrase in tech, like you want, if you want good stuff, or make the people who develop it use it, right? Like eat their own dog food, right? It's basically, I want the city manager to eat the Pflugerville dog food. Like that's
Could
kind
could
of
I
my favorite
just
phrase.
ask for a flip here? And perhaps we should say that the city manager should live here so that they can reap the benefits of all the good work they do,
I like that
rather
phrase.
than
Eat the dog food.
acting as if it's a punishment.
However you want to put it, I'm okay with it.
Yes,
Kick the dog down the
exactly.
If you want to word it that way, it works for me.
I like that, yeah.
Let me
I
throw,
agree, I think they should live.
let me throw this out here. If the city manager lives on a certain street, and that street needs repaving, do they feel like they can't have it repaved because somebody will say, oh, they've got their own private street now repaved? Would it benefit the city manager in terms of making non-biased decision-making processes, in terms of council approved this road package? Now, they have to, see, I did it too. They have to decide the order of
You're
that.
actually suggesting that it could be a conflict of interest.
Right,
Yes.
Well,
That they
right.
live in the
Well, then, by that same deal, then you would have to say the city manager cannot live in the city, if you're going to put that in there.
Also, the
And
flip side of that
that's-
is,
That's counterproductive. I mean, you can't, that's an inane argument, I think.
I'm just saying they would have the option.
No, I think the city manager should live within the city to experience the life that I experience in the city. And if their street needs work, there's a process for the order of repairing the streets. And I would expect that the city manager's street would be held to the same standard as my street. Experience life in the city that you manage.
to the
I
flip
agree
side of what
with
you're
that.
talking about, roads is a perfect example of that. If you're living outside the city, you may not know that the roads that you travel on every day need repair because you're never using them as much. You're not using them as much as if you lived on them every single day and you're using them to go to the grocery store and everything else. That's living in the city that you're spending the money on. If you're outside the city, you're not as aware of what's going on. You're not living in the same situation that you're spending all this money for the citizens there to do. You may not allocate that money correctly. You may not understand the issues at play and the problems need to be solved and how your decisions are affecting everybody because you're
Jamie?
living in cities.
Are there examples of other cities where the city manager isn't confined? Like, is there language regarding that where they could still have this role and responsibility without being confined to an area?
I'd have to look up Westlake's language and to understand. I don't even know if they're a home rule charter, but I know their city manager lives here in town. Or he did.
Just to
City
give you an
administrator.
example, and it's outside of Texas, but I lived in a town that was less than a square mile. It was very hard to get a city manager.
Yeah.
Good example.
Fair.
Every one example of that, you're gonna, the majority of the city
Right.
managers are required to live in the city,
Yeah.
Okay.
so.
I don't know that that's true.
Is there a reason this came up?
I don't have, I
I'd
don't,
lay money on it.
it's a blanket statement. I don't, I
I'd
can't,
lay money on it.
but again, it's, you don't know that it's true. You're just thinking it's true. It's a perception. And it may be true. I'm just saying
I've
you
looked at a
don't.
lot of city charters in the central Texas area.
Yeah.
And for the vast majority of the central Texas ones.
How many, just by a show of hands, how many people think we need to continue beating this subject in terms of, do you think we need to change the occupancy limits of the city manager? If you do, raise your hand.
Was there a specific reason this came up? Like, is there a need or
I have no idea. This is,
where did it come from?
it came from,
The city manager.
it might have.
And that would be job security.
These were staff recommendations. And the request, the item to consider was changing the residency, what's wrong with me? Requirements updated to school district boundaries. So they'd still be in the area, but wouldn't necessarily be confined to having to
That's
live
your ETJ example of like they could live
Yeah.
in ETJ.
Yeah.
Okay, got
They
it.
could also live in
nearby, but
Wells
give them
Branch
a
or
little more
Austin,
flexibility.
though, if
Some
it's
of
school
Right.
district.
And Conley's in
Yeah.
Austin, so
Yeah.
it's still not even ETJ.
Right.
Got
It's
it.
the other way,
Right.
so it's still,
Because maybe you want to raise goats, I don't know.
yeah, and my only other concern with it is like, yeah, that is a very prominent job, but in that being the job for your family, that doesn't mean like any partner that they would have, if their job made it easier for them to be able to be a split and be able to do for something else. So it kind of, I just wonder, I don't know if I do agree that it would be nice, but at the same time to confine that family, depending on whatever it is, I don't know, I just have mixed feelings on it.
Yeah.
So it makes it hard for me to want to make anything towards this. So I just have mixed feelings on it.
We pay that position a lot of money there. I think the least
Yeah.
we can ask is that they're subjected to the same, like,
Dog
daily
food.
living that everybody else does.
Same dog food. And I agree, I agree with those points. I found it interesting, I did a quick search, and I found it interesting that cities like Georgetown, Cedar Park, Leander, they don't have residency requirement language in their city charter.
Right.
So those are other relatively comparable cities right around here that do not have residency requirements. But I
I
would.
don't think
and
there's,
then-
I don't think there's a requirement for the city attorney to
No,
live
there's
inside.
Let's bring that up.
We'll get to that section.
Which doesn't mean I'm, not gonna live in
We're moving on to the can of worms.
But to somebody's point, that might limit the pool of people that we
Yes,
could pull from,
that's
right?
exactly, it's exactly what Josh was talking about, where actually if we say, hey, you live in Round Rock right now and you're in the zoning where your kids are in high school and they're at Round Rock High School,
Yeah.
and you don't want to move them to a different high school, that would be
Right.
horrible.
Right.
You're going to lose out on a candidate potentially that could be really great just because of 10 miles.
And so I don't think this is addressing our current city manager. I think this is looking forward in terms of future city managers.
Yeah.
I just think, like, as a city manager, you want them invested in making this the greatest city possible, and if they're not invested in that enough to live there.
That's automatic, sir. That is automatic for any city manager
Yes,
that
but at the
is
same
working
time, like,
in
there's
the
things you-
structure of trying to build the best city and go to TML and get all the awards. That's
But it's harder
that's
to
part
do
of
if
the
you don't live
process.
here. Like, even if the motivation is there, and I'm not doubting it is in any situation here, but it's harder to do if you're not living and breathing in the city every single day.
I mean, the same argument could be made for council people, should they have to live in the city? Of course they do.
That's different.
And for me, it's the same argument for
You
the city
have to,
manager.
yeah, I think that's controlled by a whole different state. It's not a different argument. Otherwise, the city attorney would be required to live here. I don't even think the
Just wait till
municipal,
we get
I don't
there.
think the municipal judge is.
The city attorney makes advisory bills, the city manager makes policies.
Again, council makes the policies, the city manager does not.
When I read who set the agenda, it was the mayor with the assistance of the city manager. It
Absolutely.
didn't say the mayor with assistance of the city secretary or city attorney. It said the mayor with assistance of the city manager.
Correct.
And so therefore, that raises her status.
Their
up.
status.
Raises the city manager's status up above. It's a different status. You can't argue.
Oh, I
that.
argue it is. It absolutely is. There's
And
four
so-
that are different
And so the
status.
requirements should be different too.
Right.
Should we vote?
Do we need
I thought we
to?
did.
Did we vote?
I think we did, then somebody started talking again. Wasn't me.
Sorry, I didn't say we voted.
Yeah, so we'll do it one more time just because we rehashed it. Does anybody think, how many people think we need to revisit the residency requirements for the city manager? Raise your hand. Okay.
So the question is, do we want to expand it in alignment with the recommendation to the school?
Or
Or
any,
just- you're
any.
saying
Or like
just-
remove it. We could say, let's
Or remove
remove
it
it.
altogether. Okay.
Yeah, so just, do we want to consider changing it? We don't know what yet, right?
Yeah.
I'm not saying that, I'm just saying, do we want to consider changing it? I had one vote. So we're not.
Okay.
Okay, now, should the city attorney live within,
Ooh, you got a dirty look.
I don't think that is
city complex?
He's taking
He has
names
no
over there.
contract.
It's a mixed-use development, right? Are there gonna be
Is there
apartments there?
anything in 401 concerning the city manager that y'all would like to discuss or look at? 402 is,
Question.
oh, I'm sorry,
I do have a question.
Yes, ma'am.
It relates to 401D
okay,
and
acting
as
city manager.
opposed to 405C. Because in 401D, it talks about acting city manager and that they would appoint someone. In 405C, it talks about assistant city manager.
Okay,
But there's nothing regarding the appointment of the assistant city manager.
right, that's
So-
that's a staff hire.
So, but what's the purpose of the acting city manager? Wouldn't it?
So the acting city manager is, let's say the city manager is sick, or the city manager goes on vacation and tours Italy or something. Then you have to have a city manager here to make decisions, and it's not interim. Interim is the city manager's fired or quit, and you have an interim city manager that's appointed, because someone has to have that title of city manager.
Right.
Okay, and so the difference between interim and acting, acting is just someone who's temporarily stepped in while the city manager's traveling the world or visiting relatives or whatever, so that you have someone that makes decisions.
And you wouldn't use an assistant city manager for that?
You could appoint an assistant city manager, and in fact, we have a deputy city manager that's often
Right.
assigned the
Acting.
acting city manager role. But even if the deputy city manager is out of pocket, then it could be another, it most likely is an ACM, just because they're the ones that have the most overarching knowledge of what's going on.
Okay.
But yeah, that's all that is. Someone to step in temporarily, except for a member of city council. Any other questions on 401? 402 governs the municipal court. Again, I don't think I've received anything specific about this. Does anybody have any issues?
I just wanted to note that the city municipal judge and associate judges have to be residents of the city.
This is true, and that made it quite difficult to find one,
Oh,
because
yeah, we're too small.
the previous, I don't think the previous municipal judge lived in town. I think anyway. But I know, like, our municipal judge here is also municipal judge in Bee Cave.
Right.
Right.
Does that have the same within 180 days requirement?
It doesn't have it listed, no.
It just says
Or
the.
maybe that's,
Well, and the more it just kind of stews in my own brain, even about the city manager and thinking about We're a fast-growing city, generally speaking. And how constrained are we on talent? If we really think about like forcing them to live here, we're not forcing our city attorney to live here. And we, so if you think about it from a talent pool perspective,
I feel like the salary we pay the city manager is enough to do a lot of talent.
The city manager's on top of those roles.
I get that.
So that, I still see that differently.
So for instance, our current municipal judge lived in Austin, very North Austin, and bought a house here and moved to Pflugerville within a period of time. And they had made that commitment when they were hired. But at the time, there was an argument made that you don't, that it's more, looking for the right word, there's an opportunity for less bias if your judge isn't a resident of the citizens that they're judging, right?
Yeah.
My neighbor gets a ticket. Maybe I go for the minimum fine. Now, I'm not saying that that's what's happening or anything. I don't think any of that is happening, but that's the possibility. And even if they get the minimum fine, or maybe it's a loud neighbor and they get a maximum fine, does that put the perception of bias out there, right? Where then that could be contested. And so part of insulating the municipal judge from complaints like that is that they live outside the city limits. So just like the city attorney, would we want to remove that requirement for our municipal judges?
I'm much more inclined to do it for the judges and the attorneys because they are partially looking at something that's really not affecting the day-to-day life of the city versus the city manager who is definitely involved.
I mean, they have to show up in court, so they can't live far.
They do,
right?
They should be there, but that's an attendance requirement, not a.
No, it's B.
It's B.
Commute 4 hours.
So what do y'all think about removing the residency requirement for our municipal judges? How many people want to continue this conversation? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, we got a majority of the people in the room because I think we got 9, 10. 10 now. Jim showed up. And Josh. 11.
What was the other, you said municipal judges and who else?
Sorry.
I know BK and
Yeah.
George
Judges in general.
Town, I think you don't have, the judge doesn't live there. I don't know about Round Rock.
The city council shall appoint a municipal judge who shall be an
And I
attorney
agree,
licensed to
it's
practice
not the
law.
same as the city
Yeah,
manager.
it's just the.
It's not the same
The
level,
heading
it's
says
more like
the
a
associate
city
judge.
attorney. It's a professional job that's not really affecting, it affects individuals more as opposed to affecting city policy. Now, his job affects city policy, but a municipal judge is judging individuals, he's not judging the city. I don't think, I mean, it doesn't exempt him from living in Pflugerville. So as far as giving preferential treatment to a neighbor or bad treatment to a neighbor, it still could happen because he can still live in a neighborhood and have a neighbor he hates.
It doesn't prohibit them
Yeah,
from
yeah,
living
that
here.
doesn't stop the preference. So it doesn't prohibit him from living in Pflugerville. But I don't think it, I think the talent pool for that would be better.
Right.
And like I said, a municipal judge is more of a one-on-one with a citizen of Pflugerville or a citizen out of Pflugerville. If he's judging somebody that, committed offense in Pflugerville.
Terry, are you making a motion to remove the words "and a resident of the city" from Article 4, Section 2B?
Yes, I'm making that motion.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All righty, look at us making progress. Anything else in 402 municipal judge that y'all would like to look at? .403, city attorney. I know Mike's been waiting for this. This section, guys, seemed really brief. I know Mike likes words. Didn't he say he likes lots of words?
More words.
More words.
Words really matter.
Words do matter.
They're paid by the word.
They're paid by the syllable, sir. That's why I use words like de minimis and egregious instead of good and bad. All right, the city council shall appoint a city attorney who shall be a competent attorney, duly licensed to practice law in the great state of Texas. The city attorney shall serve at the will of the council and shall receive compensation as fixed by the council. The city attorney shall be the legal advisor and attorney for the city and all its departments and officers in the conduct of city business and shall represent the city in all litigation. However, the city council may retain special counsel at any time it deems necessary or advisable, which is many times the case.
Okay, yeah, that does arise where you need special counsel.
Often.
Yeah, just when there's more work than one.
If there's a
specialized work.
Yeah, well, not only that, but if there's a contract dispute where a contractor is suing the city, we want someone's specific knowledge of road construction and
Gotcha.
those types of
Got it.
contracts,
Yeah, you want,
right?
okay.
I mean, it says duly licensed to practice law. We can move that section and a resident of the city down into here.
I think it should require long hair like her.
Gotta grow long, I like it.
I don't know. I'm getting a haircut this weekend, just so you know.
Must have a full beard, I don't know.
He really looked cool.
I didn't always agree with him, but he looked cool.
Sir, I'm sorry, Sam had something serious. No, Jolly, did you have something?
Do we have a budget for our city attorneys, or what we pay our city attorneys?
Yes.
The reason I asked that question, if we have a budget for that, do we have an additional budget for the other attorneys that we may need?
Yes, we have a legal
Do we have
budget.
additional budgets?
Yes, sir.
Currently in place for that?
Yes, sir.
Do we meet those budgets currently?
Sometimes we use them and sometimes we roll them over to the next year because, you know, there's a budget set aside for if the city gets sued. If no one sues the city, we're not spending that money, we roll it over to the next year, right? And that's where sometimes budget analysis gets difficult because it says, oh, you budgeted $250,000 for legal expenses and you only spent $150,000. Well, let's lower that.
No.
But there was additional funds there in case of, right? So, yeah, budgets are fun.
Thank you.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
gonna pull Carol and say that's a policy issue, not a charter issue.
Looking at 404, city secretary. Now, the city secretary just has lots of words here.
Oh, Lord,
They,
anything about the AC?
we can add item 7 here, sir.
We'll make sure the internal temperature is at peak level at all times.
So in your experience, do you think that the city secretary probably deserves like a really significant raise?
Put that in the chart.
Mandatory scale.
For all the you prescribed by the charter, let's talk about that. Just so you know,
I don't think it says the city secretary has to live in the city.
Yeah, I don't see a residency requirement.
Blah, blah, blah.
Although I feel like with the amount of time you probably spend here, even if you didn't, you probably would meet a residency requirement. Yeah.
It just should be a room like set aside in the courthouse.
With a cot.
We got a new
Pillow and a
building over there. We
blanket.
should do
I got
that.
plenty of room in a new one.
Yeah.
At 62 degrees.
Does anybody see anything, would any recommendations come from staff? Nope. Moving on, 405, personnel policies.
I have a consistency question.
Please.
In most of the gender neutral changes, they went from he, she to they.
Yes.
But in here, they do he/she. Was there a reason for that, or was that just an oversight?
It was an oversight. Where is it?
It's,
You said 5C?
yeah, hold on a second, I circled it. Where did I circle? It's 5.06 for sure, and.
Oh, are we in 5 or 4?
Four.
We're in 4.
I thought I saw it in 4.
Yeah, we're in.
Anyway,
four,
as long as we can do a check for that.
Oh,
Oh,
I see what you're talking about. 4.05 D5.
There, I knew I saw it somewhere.
Yeah.
Thank you. Got
There
it.
was a 5 in there.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I see it.
Yep.
is that a
Is that a motion?
I mean, I see a he, she here too.
Can that be changed without going to a vote?
I think it's,
Yeah, I think that's,
Yeah.
just, it's a check.
Non-substantive
Just
change.
a note.
right,
Change all-
because 5 years ago, we voted to change them all to gender neutral. We missed one, so it's a
There's several, so just.
non-substantial
search
or
for it.
de minimis
Change
change.
all he, she to they.
If we change that to they, is that going to confuse whether it's referring to the city manager or the employee in question? They're both in the same
I
sentence.
mean, it's still confusing with he, she.
Yeah,
It's no more or less.
Manager.
right.
Before the hearing.
Any pronoun is a
To say-
problem there.
The city
No,
manager
so.
shall be allowed to
No,
review
I
all
think that's
documents,
fine.
statements,
fine.
records used to determine a disciplinary, or whoever it's supposed to be referring to. The employee,
So technically, the grammar refers back to the employee.
Right.
the employee, yeah,
Employee shall be.
Oh, yeah. The employee shall be allowed to.
yeah.
How many times has the Personnel Appeal Board met in the last 5 years?
Sentence today because I couldn't catch the details of it.
None, right?
Zero.
And then after
Zero.
I diagrammed it, I knew why.
Does that only apply to
It's because
police
it
officers? Is that something we either need to expand or?
References
Okay.
to things that
Especially
were.
the last one.
I don't think, does that apply to him or is it chief?
So,
Is there a personal appeal board appointed already, or?
yeah, there is, but they don't ever, they never meet.
Are they
They're
still
never
alive?
required to, this might be a section we could strike potentially.
I mean, when were they appointed?
Every year,
Oh, each year they get appointed?
every
Oh, okay.
year, every December. And typically it goes appointments to PCDC, planning and zoning, the other boards, and then anybody that's left in the room gets put on personal appeal board. So it's basically something they can put on their resume, but they never have to meet.
That's what I thought that was this.
Huh?
Is there a need for
Because the
this?
process, because the thought is that commissioned officers have legal options through the union and through other organizations. City staff have recourse through, I think through TML, has some sort of, I don't know. I don't know. But it's, I know they haven't met in the last 5 years, and it may be longer.
Is that because no one's asking for one?
No one's ever appealed it, of being fired. Usually,
Well, what happens if they do?
Yeah,
then they go
what's in
to
place?
their union, or they go to another organization, but
They don't have a union.
Are they required to be a part of the union? So therefore they would have that as an avenue, like every police officer would have that as an avenue?
I don't know.
Okay.
And also in the absence of this, did they then go to city council directly and, like, what is the?
Let me ask this, what does it hurt having it in here? Because remember, one of the things, don't do change for change's sake, I think we've said. It does no harm being in here, but provides a buffer in case 10 years from now it's needed, it's still here. But
Yeah, like if
Kinda
there's
like
no
our-
unions left, then
As soon as you
this
take
is
it
at least a backup.
Kind of like our legal budget, we have it and they're there in case we do need it.
Leave it alone.
Potentially.
Yeah, I don't think we need to take it
I mean,
away.
I'd rather have it in here and never use it than,
What's the cost to the city
Need
for
it.
having it? There's,
Zero.
it's
Zero.
just the few minutes it takes for the appointments and stuff like that.
Anything else in 405 y'all want to look at?
No.
No,
406, administrative departments. Seems kind of brief.
So brief, I missed it.
Hearing no issues raised. Moving on to 407, executive assistance, oh, that was removed,
No.
sorry.
Yeah.
No, it's not 407, 501.
Yeah, I'm looking at the old charter, my apologies. All right, anything else in Article 4 that I've overlooked and/or perhaps you would want to add or append?
Does 406 cover the potential where there could be a department that becomes a data department? Not to rehash all the other stuff, but I'm just saying, like, would that cover just saying, hey, if the city manager decided, yes, we need another person, then I'm going to have this department and slot a person in there?
Well, this says you can't create a department without the charter, right, or this council?
I guess maybe, yeah, it has to be an
Council shall not
ordinance
affect
adopted by the
the-
council. All right, like, forget what I said.
So the council would have to do a department and a
Yeah,
manager would
okay.
understand it.
Done.
Yeah, departments aren't established by charter.
Okay,
Well, not yet.
ordinance.
Okay. Now we're in Article, wait a minute, going back to, yeah, but I gotta do it right. Okay, closing item 3C, opening item 3D, discuss and consider action regarding recommendation for possible amendment to the city charter, Article 5. Yeah, it says the city council, but on all of them. But that's not true. Article 5, nominations and elections. So this is, I think somebody asked earlier about recalls or, oh, that's Article 6. So this is where we have all of our requirements for, basically for council and the mayor.
On 502, filing for office, limitations, Part B. Candidate may file, no candidate may file for more than one office or council place at the same time,
Yep.
same election. So that's it? City office, or does that, city office, state office?
Right, that you can't
file for any
for
office.
commissioner and city council at in the same election.
It'd be on the same ballot, I think, is.
Right. Which makes sense. I mean, what if you win both, then you lose, and you have to have a special election to fill, somebody's losing money on that.
Can somebody be on the city council and be in the state legislature?
No. I think there's something here,
That doesn't apply to if you're already in office, right? It just means you can't.
that is in another section in terms of,
I have a note of like, are we talking about 5.02?
Yeah.
I have a note that we're supposed to add 3.08 and 3.303.
We want to have cross references
Yeah.
for that,
Right.
right? Because
Yeah.
about the residency requirement
Yeah.
to be carried on throughout the term.
And I got one for 501.
okay, so let's come to this one first. Jamie, what were you talking about now?
Well, he's 501 though, and I'm 502.
Oh, okay. All right, so 501, Sam?
So I'm just pitching an idea out there. California does this. For the charter election, and this, Carol, immediately.
No, I'm going to say, before you discuss that, would you consider putting it under 1111D instead of 501?
I don't have 11. What is 11?
1111D specifically refers to the charter review. It sets up the commission, rules of procedure, powers and duty, and then the council action to have it published. And I just thought this fit better in that section
Potentially.
than
Does
in
that-
501.
Does that apply to the charter amendments that the council puts on as well?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can put this on.
So I would just suggest that we move his proposal to 11.
This would be the place, I know some cities have ranked choice voting, and so one of the way to get rid of runoff elections, if there's 3 or 4 people running for mayor, is to have ranked choice.
The state hasn't banned that, have they? Like letting, okay.
No, I think they do it in Leander and Cedar Park. I don't,
Wait, if they
I
do
think
it
it
in
needs to be
Leander, why
majority.
are they having a runoff?
I'm sorry, what?
Leander's having a mayoral runoff.
Were
They
they too
can.
close? They were too close?
No one got over 50%.
But that means they don't have ranked choice though, right?
That's right, we don't currently have ranked
I meant
choice.
Leander.
It has to be a majority, so it has to be 50%, not of the registered voters, but 50% of the voters plus one.
Right, but
Nope.
you said Leander has ranked choice, and I said, no, they're having a runoff.
Okay, then maybe it's Cedar Park.
It's probably Cedar Park, yes.
Yeah, it's one of those, or neither.
It's over there.
It's outside of my jurisdiction.
Texas law, I think Texas law requires majority vote, perhaps.
We have a legal expert here.
I didn't hear the, I'm
Does
writing-
Texas law require majority vote versus ranked choice for
You know,
mayor?
I made a note. I don't know what the status is of ranked choice.
Okay.
And so I was gonna look at Cedar Park and of course state law, and I'll get back to y'all.
Just on my opinion, I don't think anybody should be serving in the office that didn't get more than half the vote of the people voting for them.
So Terry, you're for spending more money for
Well,
runoff
I'm not for 10 people running for mayor office and somebody serving on the council getting 11%.
Well, that won't.
Well,
That's
ranked
a
choice
straw man.
opens
I'm
that
not even
possibility. I don't think anybody should serve on a council that doesn't have at least half the vote. And like you said, we had 4 this time, okay, so they could have had 25, 25, 24, and 26. It could have come out. Do we really want our mayor to have 26% of the vote? I don't. I want at least half of the people.
Every runoff that I've ever
I know.
been a
but-
part of, whoever got the most votes in the general election.
Okay,
When Jeff Marsh and I ran with Victor Johnson and Victor Toe, Jeff had more votes than me, but less than 50%. We went to a runoff, and he still had more votes than me.
but that's a false analogy because this opens up the possibility, if you do ranked choice, that you could have that in the future. The past is the past. We're talking about going forward, dude. And it was very possible in this last election with 4 candidates that you could have had 20, 25, 30, 35, and somebody makes mayor 35%. I don't think that, I think the voters need to have a say-so where you got half the voters. And if that means going to a runoff election, you do a
Terry,
runoff
but
election.
Terry, but a ranked choice is you eliminate the least preferred options, and then you take the ranked choice from the people who voted for them and roll it in. So you actually do get to a majority vote for. You're just fast
follow the
tracking.
ranks.
You're just fast tracking the runoff by ranked choice.
You're taking the least amount and doing what to it?
So you take it. So I rank candidates 1, 2, 3, 4, but my 1 isn't actually like he's not in the top 2, right? The ranked choice just means whichever one I ranked first out of the final 2, that's my vote, right, between those 2. So what it means is you still do get, so my vote, since my top 2 candidates, let's say, like wouldn't have made the runoff,
So
I've already made a decision between 3 and 4 in the ranked choice order.
So you're
I'm just-
you're complicating the ballot.
Okay, well, that's an argument, but.
You're tremendously complicating the ballot.
Sure, I'm, yes, okay, that's it, but that's a different argument than you wouldn't have a majority.
Right, because you're ranking them 1, 2, and 3, or 4, or 10, whatever.
So as my votes fall out for my top candidates, I still vote
Right.
for someone between the 2 that are left. I still
Correct.
made a
Well-
decision.
Well,
Right.
I can tell you,
But
a
There's
lot
just
of
no
people,
runoff.
well, I can tell you that a lot of people pick a candidate
And they don't educate.
and they
themselves
don't
on
look at
rest.
the other
Yeah.
candidates.
Yeah,
Okay,
sure.
that, I want to vote for this guy or this lady, the heck with the rest.
No, I've
And
got
then,
it.
and then, then,
That's
when
an-
they-
I can argue that's
and then when they do this ranking, they're voting this guy, okay, A, B, any, meeny, miny, mo, any, meeny, mo. Okay.
I don't think that's true because,
Come on.
no, because in ranked choice voting, you're not required to vote for everyone. And so I've seen ballots where they just vote for one person and that's the
And
only
I know a
vote that
lot
they
of people,
give.
I know a lot of people vote any, meeny, miny, mo.
And that happens in every election now anyway, so what are you saying?
I'm saying, I prefer a runoff.
Josh, thank you for your patience.
Sorry, so in 2021, the city of Austin put this on the ballot whether or not the voters wanted ranked choice voting, and I think they approved it, yes, but they haven't used it yet because
State
going back to
legislature,
what-
yeah, I've looked at it more.
majority.
It's because it's the state, and it's almost like they have it set up as a future option
Oh.
when and if the
If the
state
state
legislature
changes
takes action to allow ranked choice voting. Right now, it's not allowed. It's
And
not
that's
allowed
how
in the
the
state of
law-
Texas for municipal
Yeah.
elections.
So then let's not consider it now.
Right, like we would be looking to the future to say, if it were to be available to voters, then we would like for it to be available in
So we need to
Pflugerville.
monitor the next 5 years.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. And my guess is our state legislature will not do anything.
I feel like Craig's about to say something.
Yeah, and I was gonna say, if we actually did do a delay, I'd be like, not when it does, but do it like the following election, so skip one, so we can also educate people on what's happening
Sure.
too, and see what's happening.
Yeah.
So so it's not like, bam, okay, now we gotta change voting things and whatever. So that's just one little,
So do we really want to codify what ifs?
No, I think that's what we're
Yeah.
saying.
No, that's what we're all saying.
I think we're
Yeah.
all aligned
Yeah.
at this point. If it's not even legal to do in Texas yet,
Yeah.
let's not
Hey.
put it in the chart.
Like, can we make a document for the next charter review commission to say, hey, these are things that we were thinking about, but it's too far in the future?
It's like a time capsule with various
Yeah, we'll leave a time capsule for them. Yeah.
Little notes.
Terry will still be here.
put in the secretary's.
Just a note that in 506, there's a he, she to remove.
Can we just do a control F on this document?
Yeah, she's
Yeah.
gonna do it for you. Check that.
Search all replace.
I'm looking on Travis
But then
County.
Just run it
Be
through
careful,
AI.
because then whether you wanna put the employee or on some specific ones.
True.
Yeah.
Trust her,
That's the-
she'll get it.
But she's, I think that they can handle it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So I'm going back and looking, 'cause I know I saw a ranked choice vote
In the charter?
in December, general joint special, okay, so not December. All right, I'm not gonna waste our time while I search for this right now. But I'll look for it. Pulling up my list here. So moving out of 501, looking at 502, filing for office. Comment 503, official ballots. I think that's a pretty good one there.
Well, in 502, we talked about referring to 3.08 and 3.03. I just don't remember.
5.02A needs to refer back to 3.08, I believe.
Yeah.
For the residency requirement, so that it's clear that the residency requirement is not just to be able to run, it's also as they're serving, they have to maintain residency as a council member. I think that's what we had discussed.
It's 3.01A1 is referencing 5.02, and so we were talking about adding it
Oh, okay.
to 5.02
Yes,
because
so
it's
that-
being referenced in 3.08.
Do you have suggested verbiage for
I
this?
don't. I just remember taking the note.
I also took the same notes, so
Okay.
So do we want to move to?
it was just to make sure that there was
The
a
cross,
reference,
yeah.
that there was a line there saying refer back to.
So make a motion to add a reference line in 5.02A To refer back to 3.08.
Does that apply to, because this is filing for office, the other one is actually being in office, right? So does that belong in 502 if it's about once they're already in office?
Well,
You could say maintaining residency requirements.
In 308A1, it says required by sections 303 and 502. And that we said that, but 502 doesn't say anything to go back to 3.08. And that was just a reference point.
But why does it need to refer back? So 308A1 is just saying the qualifications, if you fail, you have these qualifications when you're elected, but if you fail to maintain those qualifications, that's a cause for removal. So I don't know that they need to.
I just know I think we put a pause on it because we weren't talking about this article.
Yeah.
Right.
And so that might just be that we brought it up, that we've touched on it.
So let's see, so 308 is a section on removal of office. So, and it refers to, scrolling. It refers to 502 requirements. Does the 502 requirements need to refer back to?
Because I think 502 is relevant to 308, but 308 is not relevant to 502.
I think that is a true statement.
So then you're saying not to refer back to 308.
Yeah, I don't think it.
We don't put a circular reference.
Good.
We have a one-way arrow. Okay.
I mean, I guess, but I'm just saying, if you're saying what the eligibility requirements are for the position,
I mean, we could.
would you not want to
Do you
refer
need
back to
yeah.
these are the things that would get you removed
Eliminate
from
it,
office?
We could just put the actual requirement in 308, where it just says you have to remain in the city limits.
It's in 303. The residency part is in 303.
Yeah.
It seems redundant.
But I mean, it's just a reference. It's just pointing it back to say that there's not confusion.
Well, actually, to that confusion point, 502B, no candidate will be filed more than one office as an ongoing requirement according to 308. Does that mean then that they can't be in office and also file for another office?
I think that's saying that you can't run for city council and mayor at the same time.
Yeah, that's what 502 is saying, but 308 is saying that also applies to 308.
And it may be state law, because I know that if you're serving in an elected position, I mean, even if you're like elected as a party chair, right, or precinct chair, which is an elected office, if you enter an election where you may win, and your term for whatever elected office you're holding ends, you're good. You can still serve out your term as you go to the election. But if you have 2 years left in your term and you're signing up to run for election, you have to resign. That's the way it is in the city.
Okay.
And that's probably spelled out somewhere or in state law. Mike, do you know?
State law. If your term is 3 years plus, then you can't. This is what you're asking. You can't run for another office.
Right.
And you effectively you automatically resign.
Right.
If you declare.
And then it's problematic in terms of when you announce that you're going to run, because it could trigger a special election for your unexpired term.
Yep.
Or that spot can stay vacant if it's less than 6 months or something. I don't know. But yeah, I think state law covers all that already.
But so at the state law's point, you're saying it's like a 3-year period. This is basically saying you got to resign to run immediately for Pflugerville.
This is saying you can't file for more than one office on the same election.
Meaning
It's
that-
not saying you have to resign. That's what state law says.
But I'm saying that it's forcing you to say that because 308 is referencing it. Like 502 to file, yeah, that's if you don't have a current office. But 308 is talking about if you're currently in office, you have to maintain those rules according to 502. And in order to maintain those rules, that means you can't file for another office while you're in office.
502 is specifically saying you can't file for two. So if you're
Right.
currently serving, you're only filing for one.
I got you. Okay.
And then we follow state law based on what
I got you. Okay.
how that impacts your current. position.
Okay. Okay.
Okay? Scrolling. Actually really set bookmarks.
You should use the website. You should use the website. It has links.
Boring. And it has the most updated version, so the 2026, 2021 one I have. 503 official ballots, that really seems terse.
I have just a quick question on that. When it's referring to chapter 52 of election code, is that for the state of Texas election code?
Yes.
Okay, is it fair to always reference chapter 52, or does it ever change to a different chapter number to where then that would be wrong here?
I'm sure chapter 52 goes through permutations, but typically
Would stay as chapter 52?
it's gonna stay chapter 52. And when I Google it, you see the Texas Constitution statutes.gov, election code, chapter 52, ballot forms.
Okay.
Do we ever need to check if that becomes irrelevant? Like if they change 52 to no longer apply to whatever we're doing here?
That's why we have a city attorney.
Well, and that's why, and I'm not suggesting you do it here, but I tend not to put references to specific state chapters in charters or even ordinances because they change, and then you got to go back and change them. So I was just say state law, state or federal laws.
Provisions of state or federal law.
Now, I wouldn't. I'm not saying you need to do that here.
No,
Just-
that makes more sense.
Yeah,
then,
but that's
because this could change even if.
That's what you brought your point up, is like, if it
Yeah.
changes, are
it's a
we?
good point.
Yeah.
Chapter 52.
But we're not saying it's so big that we should just go and
Right.
put it to a vote of all of the citizens to make a change.
Chapter 52 is very specific about ballot, the ballot form, ballot content.
I'm sure.
And if that changes, then we want to automatically adopt those changes. So in this case, I don't think it's a bad thing to have it reference the election code.
No. I'm not saying don't reference election code. I'm just saying, is the state of Texas ever going to say, oh, it's not chapter 52 anymore? It's Article 16, Section 2 dot ABC. Like, I'm just saying, like, they
Typically
could
not.
change that.
Typically, when they make changes, they make it within that because they understand that many people refer to it. But I'm not saying they never would.
Right.
Right? But the risk is low.
Okay. So future verbiage, though, we could leave it where we,
I
in the
think-
future, not that we're going to do anything here, but okay.
Yeah,
I know what
don't.
my recommendations would be in the future.
If our attorney doesn't see anything grossly misrepresented there, then I think we're okay. 504, canvassing. Canvassing is always fun. That's just the official recording
Yeah.
of the official results of the election. 505, this is where we talk about the election of the majority and runoff elections. I've never heard of a tie vote in the history of Pflugerville.
Too big. If we were like
We came real close.
It could happen, right?
We came real close in the,
Town.
for
Actually, we did,
Yeah.
and they had
What,
two
two
votes.
three
Reaching
Three.
the
It was three
bowl and
votes.
pull
You're
out
right.
a particular color, yeah.
Where was it, Carol?
What?
Where was your 1 mile town?
It's called Yardley,
I think that
Pennsylvania.
somebody pointed out at 506, we have a he, she already. So,
All right, moving on to 506.
Yeah, she's got it. I
And
see
someone
he,
said
she.
there's an issue?
It's
Yeah,
right
somebody
there.
said he, she.
Yeah.
Oh, you
It's in
got
the
that?
first
Yeah.
sentence.
First sentence.
Just the he,
Oh, when he
she.
takes office. Yep. You got that one, Tristan? Thank you. And that last group that.
There's also, before taking the oath of office, a candidate who
Oh,
is
yeah.
elected shall verify via signature that he or she has read this charter,
Good.
blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, I'm gonna have the company we used that post this do a full search for all that since that was amended at the last election.
Can we have a clawback if they miss any?
I want my $3.
There's a double he, she in that, by the way. The last line says, on that page says that he or she has read the charter. So there's two of them in there.
Good catch.
It has to be a he or she.
No.
You're not talking about a position, you're talking about.
Don't get in that, man. Look, we already hashed that out the last. We're being political. City charter has to be politically correct in today's age.
Anything else in 506?
We need to add the gorilla to each she on gorillas.
Or, got it. The answer is no. Guys, we may finish before 10 o'clock. I'm just saying.
Don't jinx us.
Just saying.
Can we reevaluate everything we've done so far?
No. I'm happy to. We can
Can we go back to 3.02?
We are done with item 3D, moving on to item 3E. Discuss and consider action regarding recommendations for possible amendment to the city charter, Article 6, recall of officers. Does anybody have anything specific here? Wait, I thought I had something on Article 6.
I had one for 6, but looking at the mayor's recommendations, I was just gonna go with his recommendations, and it makes it about 7 instead of 6. Because I basically said, change the petition threshold to 5%, but he wanted 10%.
You're
It's already
talking
at
way
10, so.
too quiet for me to hear you, sir.
Okay. So I had a proposal to change the petition requirements to be 5% of the elected, the registered voters. The mayor recommended 10%, and it's already at 10%. I think we'll just leave it at 10, unless somebody wants to change that. But the other thing was in section 7, where it's at 15, but that's not this section, so.
By the way, just as a note, 10% of the registered voters is about how many registered voters
4,500.
vote?
Yeah, well, that's true.
In a like US based election.
I thought it was 10% of the people who voted in the election.
It's registered voters.
Registered voters,
So it's
yeah.
like it's actually a pretty high number just.
We could lower that.
That is a lot.
Yeah.
If we're talking about, like, what is a reasonable number to get with the signature? If it's 5%, that's about, what, 2,250, give or take?
I'm not saying, I'm not proposing we lower it, I'm just observing.
I don't know how reasonable
I wouldn't mind
4,500
seeing
is.
it
It
lower,
doesn't
but-
seem super easy. But it's,
I don't think it'll happen. There's also he, she, and 604.
Man, we turned a fire on Terry over there. Outstanding, sir.
So, okay.
So I've got a note here that there's a 10% threshold in one place and a 15% threshold in another place.
Well, one of them is the recall, and the other one is in 7, which is referendum.
So we'll make a note when we talk about 7 to think, should we make those the same threshold? And I want to take a minute to talk about the 10%. I heard a couple of different voices saying maybe that's high.
You're referencing the 10% in 6.02?
Yeah.
The recall petition?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, do you got a
Well,
different perspective, Jim? You can bring some knowledge to
Well,
us
to give
on?
you an example, state
No.
law says 5% for changing it to city charter.
Oh, state law's at
All
5?
of the,
For
So
state,
I did
for
a-
a city charter amendment change,
Yeah.
that's a petition.
so I did a survey of the towns surrounding us. Round Rock, Lago Vista, Cedar Park, Austin, and Hutto all require 10%. Georgetown requires 15% on a recall, and Leander got really creative, and they want 90% of the voters in the last general election.
They really don't want to be recalled.
Wow.
That could be about, depending on the election, that's about the same
Well, I
as
did it
10%.
for our last general election, which came in at 9,383, and that would mean we'd need 8,445 signatures.
So more than the 40, double.
That's like 20%.
20%.
Right.
Yeah.
Wow.
They really, they don't.
So I'm shifting a sense that we leave this one alone.
well, okay, here's the thought, is if we want to make it, we don't want to make it easy, because then everybody's just going to get recalled all the time. We don't want that. We don't want to make it so hard that it's not possible.
Right.
So it has to be.
I think 10%.
They won't get recalled. An election will be called.
Right, but I'm
to
saying,
recall
like,
them.
you don't
And
want to do that every time.
That's a cost.
Yeah, you don't want to do that all the time. But at the same time, 4,500 votes is a lot. That's a lot of signatures,
Yep.
especially in a town size of Pflugerville.
Has it happened?
Not that I'm aware of.
Well, the kinds of petitions we've had have been like for ACC and other initiatives like that, and they're at the 5,000 level. So I don't find it unreasonable because we've gotten those things on the ballot in the past 2 decades.
If there's an outcry, like if
Yeah.
you really need to do a recall because there's just something that's egregious, I think you can get
Well,
right, like
it's, I mean,
You can canvass.
a comparison, back during the toll road deal, so there was a recall petition for Mayor Wynn and Brewster McCracken in Austin. Now, Austin's they have a 15% recall thing on theirs.
There's
It was 32,000 people that we had to get on that petition. I was driving that, me and Sal could still. It was 32,000 people that had to get signed. We got about 34,000 people sign it, but by the time they nixed off the people, we had 28,000, and then the recall petition failed. But I can tell you, you got 6 months window to get that in. It's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough to get that many. It's almost impossible. I mean, we had hundreds out there getting signatures, and it just we still failed.
I feel like it should be based off of the percentage of people that actually want this pass, rather than the amount of people you're physically able to go get, which is, just because you didn't talk to somebody doesn't mean they're for or against it. That's just now a manpower issue instead of is there demand for this issue? I don't have an opinion right here, but.
I think we're good with 10%. Can we move?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I'm seeing that as well.
On dot 6.2, recall of petition, there's a mention of here, you must sign the document using ink.
That's
or
a statement.
Indelible pencil.
Can we get rid of indelible pencil? That's something I was looking that up. I was using 18 and 1900. Maybe you should just use straight ink. How would you know if you have one of them pencils? This is the first I ever heard that. That's why I
It's
looked it up.
non-erasable pencil.
That's why I looked it up. I'm like, what is a? I've never seen one of that. Why not just get rid of that and just leave ink?
Well, again, there's no reason to.
Why?
Don't change for change's sake.
Excuse me?
Are there any handicap writing implements that use indelible pencil instead of ink? I don't know.
Well, again, it doesn't hurt being in there, right?
It doesn't hurt being in there.
And it just puts another thing for the voters in November to have to vote for. Because every one of these things every one of these changes we have has to be voted on by the voter.
That's okay.
And again,
That's
the
not a problem.
general rule we were told to begin with, don't make change for change's sake.
You know, if I have a legal document, it needs to be signed in ink. Or
Well, and this
indelible.
is also like it's a professional pencil. Like you're not finding this type of pencil
Right.
at a market. Like it is a specific.
It could almost confuse, I mean, you could make the argument that it might confuse people to think they could just use
Use a
it.
pencil, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. Just
Yeah, I can see where it could be
People are
confusing.
like, well, I used a pencil.
Yeah.
And they're like,
Yeah.
indelible pencil, and they're like,
What is that?
yeah, a pencil, right? Like,
Well, the person who's responsible for the petition needs to know that.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're going to hand you the indelible pencil.
Yes.
Also
like
known as
like
ink.
Terry's saying, there's
Well, I
not
saw
much
I'm
that
like,
we're
that should be a simple
changing
change. Just
to
take that
make
out
this
of it.
requirement.
Maybe in the 1800s.
Well, let's just
1900s,
put something else
that was
on the
okay.
ballot for people to vote for, and they're going to be
20th
confused as much as we are.
Yeah. Well, everyone's like, don't take my pencils away.
Yeah, you're going to see on the ballot, and why are
City
they taking an
Pflugerville's a war on
indelible
pencils.
pencil?
All right.
It's-
While we research indelible pencils, I'm going to call a 5-minute recess at 9:25. We'll be back at 9:30.
I'm gonna continue my research.
And a whole area.
Got it.
So where in there? Oh, okay.
Like central Phoenix and then.
My brother lived in Phoenix for a couple of years, so I was out there visiting and so. And then my husband was in a fraternity in Massachusetts with a guy who ended up as vice president of,
Haven't done yet.
one of the chip companies.
Intel or
It was
Motorola.
Waiting on
It was
Jolly.
Intel. And so he has a house outside of Phoenix that is like 2
Oh yeah, he was the vice
Yeah.
president 20 years ago.
Yeah, oh, no,
Or
30.
more, yeah.
Oh,
so,
yeah.
Those were the good days.
Yes.
Did we get any answers on indelible pencil?
A little bit outspoken.
Maybe there was supposed to be
Yeah, my brother
ineligible
did
pencil,
not.
or illegible pencil.
Oh, that's a right legibly.
It is funny, how many times did it go through a charter and everyone's just, nah, just leave it.
We're in the middle
I'll
of
wait.
it, so we're all.
All right, time is 9:30. We are back in session.
We had one lady show up for the first one, she didn't show up.
On that last note, I just had a quick question for the attorney, and I don't know if this
That's
is
her name. It's-
something we want to discuss, but is electronic signature something we can consider there, or?
That was going to be my exact question, because could you not circulate a petition by email with a DocuSign?
Yeah, much easier.
And collect?
I don't know. It's a good question. I don't know the answer. We can check.
It's a great way to modernize our charter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yes, thank you for looking into that.
If you can't, that actually makes
A lot easier to hit.
Yeah.
recall a lot easier.
Absolutely.
But I wonder if state law allows that for.
Create a blockchain.
And my other question with this, even when they do the signature, like, what's the verification process of if they're both like
They have
going
to-
through one? And I don't know.
It goes, it's a totally outside the scope of what we're defining here, but it's,
Well, I mean, I'm wanting to know.
they verify that they're a registered voter and they look up the data, their address in the database.
Well, doesn't she have to verify?
That's your, okay.
So-
That's what I was wanting to know, because like, whether that 10%, like, where does that work go?
Well, on that,
In a
on
digital.
So
would be
if that's the
allowed.
case, then do we have to say like
Well,
it has to
on
be
the page-
name, residency, and like contact information then?
It says it on here, I think.
Yeah, if you ever fill out a petition, yeah, you gotta
But-
put your name, address, and it asks for your VUID.
I see it. I
But
just didn't
sometimes,
read, sorry.
sometimes the secretary
But
has
on
to
the-
look all those up.
but on those pages,
And if you
have to-
can't find one, then it's,
but we have to have each
State law
page
for this
notified.
and no electronic.
So how,
is
you
not
have to
allowed.
print out that document, have it notarized? How do you get that notarized? It's
we'll
electronic.
see if it's legal
We'll find out.
first, and if it is, then we can,
I think you can
Address
notarize
that.
electronic documents, can't you?
Actually, we did find out.
My friend co-pilot. So it says that no, under current Texas law, recall petitions must contain a handwritten signature from each signer. And then it further, says electronic signatures, typed, digital, DocuSign style, or stylus-based unless physically handwritten on paper do not satisfy the statute. So it's in Texas Election Code 277.002.
So a digital signature does not apply unless written on paper.
No.
What does that even mean?
No, it's saying that.
No.
It's not.
Yeah.
it says it doesn't apply.
Like a stylus base, like if you have a stylus base, it has to be
Yeah.
physically written on paper, but a
Gotcha.
stylus is not gonna write on paper because,
Scratch that off your research list.
I mean,
I will
let's
double
trust
check.
but verify. Trust but verify.
Yeah.
Look,
All right, looking at 603, initiating the recall petition. I think that's where the 6 months comes in that Terry was talking about.
Yeah, we changed that last time. It was 180 days, and they had 181 days last time.
Yeah, that was weird.
Should we move it back to 181 days?
I think we should look for the nearest prime number.
Yeah. It goes up by pi every time.
604, recall petition form.
He, she in there.
603.
604, Terry says there's a he, she.
Yeah. Third line.
Which she is charged.
Yep.
Yep.
A lot of those got by.
Yeah, we need to fire that last charter committee. Did you find it? The he, she?
Yes.
Okay.
We're gonna look at all of them.
Yeah. But this way we have a known list, and we can see if our search people find them all.
It's a Word doc, you go into the search. and put-
You would think
Find them all.
you would think it'd be that simple, right? Search and replace,
We have
go.
asked them.
I know.
Copilot could do it in 5 seconds.
And here's the form, blah, blah, 605, certification of petition, which goes to Craig's question earlier. Here's the 180th day, not the 181st day.
This is 182 days.
So that's
After that,
because
David-
I have 2 working days once they give it to me before I give them something back. So that 2 days is actually my 2 days.
Is that enough time?
For just printing forms, yeah.
Yeah.
For that. That I can do in 2 days.
Hopefully the printer works.
As long
And it doesn't run out of ink. Doesn't look like Jolly's paper over there.
I'll have one through around the time, probably tomorrow.
Need that 4-hour delivery. All right, no one has anything in 605, 606. Simple. 607.
Within 5 days, does it have to, like, if it falls on the weekend, you would still have to give them the information?
Does the
Between the 5 and
Not
15.
fewer than 5, no more
Yeah.
than 15.
And the holidays and all that stuff.
It's just days.
So that one is within 5 days I have to request.
Okay.
Right, isn't that?
So like, so if it fell on a weekend,
But that's more than 5 days. It has to be more than 5 days, less than 15, right? With 607?
Well, council's on a Tuesday. So Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday,
Well,
Sunday.
It gives them a 10-day window. It's
And
5
the
to
city
15.
well, that's the hearing, but it says the certified
For a week.
presented to the city council, the person.
Yeah, within 5 days of it, okay.
So can they request that on a weekend? If it falls on
They
it?
can, yeah.
At any
request
point, okay,
at any-
that's,
at
I didn't know
any
if there was
point.
any restrictions on the dates, okay.
Yeah.
Nope, at any point within those 5 days.
Okay.
It actually seems like there were a lot of updates to this section last time too. Like I'm just noticing, which is, it seems pretty straightforward reading it down. So maybe you guys got it all ironed out last time.
608.
There's no comment from Jim on that. No comment on that? Oh, I was saying,
I haven't heard any substantive requests for changes in 607.
yeah, I was just more asking for the history on.
Oh, I think, and I'd have to go back and look at the red line, but I think a lot of these were the gender neutral,
Oh, that's what it was, okay, got it.
and so that's why you'll see a lot of them from 21. And as a matter of fact, it references Measure E, and so I think if you go back and look at Measure E, that's probably
Okay.
what it was.
So no substantive changes for like, this seems straightforward, yeah.
Yeah. 608.
There's another one.
Yep.
Yeah, there's another he, she.
There's
and
a
that 609.
There's a couple in 609, 3, actually, I see.
Yep.
Two of them in there.
Wow.
That's all we're looking for at this point.
Consider his or himself or herself.
Well, we got a themself in there. So.
Two of them. Themselves for themselves.
Yeah.
Are we in 609?
We are in 609.
There's four of them.
What is,
Those are
Yeah,
regardless of any technical defects in the recall
Well,
petition?
20 years ago.
I'm sorry, we
that
got,
wasn't-
hang on, guys. Sam,
I'm caught up on it.
I apologize.
So what is so it says regardless of any technical defects in the recall petition, but we're already in the election results. What does that phrase mean?
if a majority of votes are for the recall of the person named on a ballot, then regardless of any technical defects in the recall petition, he shall be deemed removed from office.
I mean, technical defects would be before we even got to an election, right?
No, this is after the election, because it's talking about the majority of votes.
I think that's basically a legal thing that they have to bring their, to the attention, that they have to, that you can't call an election and then come back and say it had problems with the petition.
Yes,
I
I
think
would,
you gotta
I would
challenge
think
it
if
before.
someone challenges the count,
Afterwards?
right, they're still removed until the count is,
Well, it's not just challenging the count, it's challenging the validity of the petition that was gathered.
Right.
gotcha.
Yeah, if I
Yeah,
miscounted the
the wording
petition
on
and
it
it
or
shouldn't have been valid, but if it's already gone to the election and it's already been voted, whatever mistake that was, doesn't matter anymore.
Right.
You can still challenge the count, but you can't challenge the wording of the petition.
Right.
Or the validity of the signatures on the petition.
Gotcha. 610, restrictions.
Sorry, there's one more thing on 6.9. So if they got kicked out and there was a technical defect on the recall petition, are they still, they're kicked
still
out, but
kicked
are
out.
they still ineligible to run for office?
Yeah, because they were kicked out. They were voted out. Good?
Yeah.
Any other questions, 609? 610, restrictions. All right, no further discussion on Article 6, moving.
Question, sorry, just weird wording, it's on the petition thing itself, on it says sworn and subscribed to before me, this, is that like the right?
Standard verbiage, I believe, for notary.
Okay, because that just sounds so, okay, just making sure. This looks weird.
All legal language, all legal language looks
They made
weird.
up their own language.
They have to wear a special like top hat. Right?
Yeah,
So what that's saying is this phrase was sworn and subscribed to
Yeah,
before me, who is signing it.
okay, almost like, okay, gotcha, thank you.
moving on to item 3F, discuss and consider action regarding future agenda items to include a draft schedule for review of the city charter.
Yeah, and I can cover this one. So in the actual packet, I have the schedule. So what that means is next meeting, we'll be reviewing Articles 7, 8, and 9, as well as I'll be working with Mike over this next month. Any specific language recommendations you provided, we will bring those back as we're able to. May or may not be all of them, but we will start working through those ones that you've provided. And then also we'll repeat Article 3 to address the last lingering pieces.
Seemed like there was something from Article 4, no? Am I misremembering?
There was the one from 6 where it's the recall petition percentage.
There was mention about looking at Article 7 and Article 6 together, so we can bring it to 6 as well,
Okay,
in case that conversation.
probably just open with both at the same time. Can we do that?
We can,
Because that's the only thing that's dragging.
yeah.
Anything else?
I'll move that the meeting be adjourned early.
Second.
Wait, I would have to call the vote on that, though.
No.
And I just happened to bring a copy of Green Eggs and Ham.
Double pencil.
You know, I have that book.
With no further items on our agenda, we are adjourned.
Thank you, Jim.
We did it! Good job, Pete.
I don't have to.